What it is, my friends. Sorry. You know the dealio. The webinar is being recorded. We probably, we're not going to be bringing as many people on today. These are office hours. This is not an official class or webinar or anything. So what we don't do today is really we don't bring everybody on. If you have some good questions and if you've taken some of our in-person classes or some of our on-demand classes and you've got some interesting or not, you've got some burning questions that we need clarification on, we might bring you over. But welcome. Sorry, my nose is itching a little bit. I don't know what that means. Hopefully it means money is coming my way. Fingers crossed. How is everybody doing? Monday, 12/14/2020. 12142020, and this is number 2, office hours, open to the public or open to the first 50 people or 100 people that sign up. What we do is we try to answer questions as we continue to evolve. Noel and I continue to evolve with this pizza game. The Zoom, if it doesn't happen on Zoom, does it actually exist is the question. We are making and baking, and we are burning and learning in the immortal words of Chris Bianco. And you know what we say, time is money, money is power, power is pizza, and pizza is knowledge. So why don't we, we're gonna answer questions. So here's the dealio. I want you all to introduce yourselves upon the chat. This is a pizza forum. This is a pizza community. I think that there was a loss within the pizza community a day or so ago. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna be talking about the upcoming on-demand classes. We're gonna be talking about the upcoming live classes, our schedule. But mostly what we want to make sure is that people that have spent quality time with us, both in person and on demand, if there are follow-up questions, we can take these couple hours and try our best to answer everybody's question. Now, we're going to do our best. We do not promise to answer everyone's question. However, we will try to get to them. What we encourage everybody to do is use the chat to chit back and forth amongst yourselves. Please introduce yourself. If you want to share some recipes or some styles, copy the chat. If people put links in there, cut and paste and put it in a little side folder. We'll be talking back and forth. If we get into some math, we'll put it in the chat, but take notes, kind of write stuff down, because the chat is not available post this if we put this wherever we may put it, on YouTube or whatever. Use the chat to kind of create the community of pizza people. We're dough dorks and pizza geeks, and be among your pizza people. What I say is I resonate at that pizza frequency. It means I love talking about pizza, I love eating pizza, but mostly I love sharing pizza. And we also say a recipe does not a pizza make. It's more about the method and the technology, the philosophy, the phyllo dough. And I'm not talking about puff pastry. I'm talking about the philosophy behind your make to bake schedule. When do you want to eat it? When is it going to be the best? Let's work backwards. So we do encourage using the question and answer function as you all are attendees. So this is what we'd like to do. Please, say, this is so-and-so, or you don't have to say your name because we'll see your name, hopefully. And just say which classes you have taken. And then just don't ask like 4 or 5 questions because we get bogged down. Just please ask one question and then allow us to kind of digest it and talk about it for a moment. And if you do have some more questions, just please keep putting questions. Don't give us 4 questions in a row, because there are a lot of people signed up today, and we want to make sure we get everybody's questiones answered to the best of our ability. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring him on. You know the deal. My partner in pizza, the man, the myth, the legend, Noel, Mr. Slow Rise. Noel Slow Rise Pizza Browndown. You there, buddy? Come on over. Come on down. Come on.
Justin, what is going on?
We're just kicking it. We're opening up the office hours. The doctor is in, so to speak. I did watch the Peanuts holiday cartoon last night, and it was on PBS, because I guess Apple bought the rights to it, and this is the first time forever that the Thanksgiving and the Christmas Peanut special was not shown on regular television, network television. So I guess they did a deal with PBS to show it once. How generous of Apple that has a gazillion dollars. But
Wow.
it was weird. It was a little weird. I had difficulty following it. I don't know if they changed it or re-edited it or something. But Lucy always said the doctor is in when Charlie Brown was having issues. Good grief, huh? So that's what we are. Speaking of the doctor, I think we lost a friend in the pizza community that resonated. The dough doctor himself, Tom. What was his name?
I think his last name was pronounced Lehman,
Tom Lehman.
Lehma. Maybe it's a
Um,
double N.
if anybody has spent some QT on the Pizza Forum, Pizza Makers Forum, or there are a bunch of Facebook Pizza Uni and Pizza Snobs, and I'm a member of a bunch of them. If you don't know, Noel is now on Facebook, so
Oh, stop.
be sure to friend him. But I think that's somebody that's generous. We all often talk about the fact that there are no secrets here, and we love to talk about it. And we love to encourage people to keep making. We'll give you some recipes. We'll give you some techniques. What we love to talk about that stuff. So my heart and soul goes out to his friends and family, and simpatico with that. Condolences across the board to the pizza community. So yeah, guys. So let's Eric here. Nice. So Eric, what I'd ask you to do is let's use the Q&A function, please. Q&A, it should be down. You press the Q&A, and I think you can just answer questions. But we'll get that one. So Noel, what are you thinking, dog? What do you want to do? What you looking at there?
Well, you know what? I'm coming up with all kinds of new classes right now, and you know what dawned on me? That a lot of the people I've been reaching out to lately are European and mostly Italians. Some French guys. I got a German gal, Austrian woman that I'm working with, and I really want to cover some of the Spanish breads and pizza styles that are pretty awesome. And I always say that Spain doesn't have as good a publicist as Italy or France, but I was lucky enough to go to Spain last year, and I got a hold of this book. It's called Pan de Pueblo. Pardon my my Spanish. And I was in search of a couple of bread styles while I was there. They were super hard to find. So this book's actually in Spanish, so I've had to translate a lot of it, which actually is not that hard, thanks to Google Translate. But a lot of it didn't work out as well as I had hoped. So, it's yeah.
I mean, I guess unless you know a world-class translator, you're probably SOL.
Well, I do know a world-class translator and interpreter, my wife, but she's not interested in helping me to do this. She thinks it's actually good for my Spanish. So she's like, "No, you do it."
Probably right. You do it yourself, huh?
But I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this guy. His name is Iman Yarza. So we're Instagram friends, and I'm going to reach out to him. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to reach out to him to see if he wants to teach a class or two with me. This is a really interesting book. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe one day it'll come out in English, but that's actually not the way he rolls. He's taken some of our best bread books, and he's translated them into Spanish.
See.
And so, he wants the Spanish-speaking population of Spain to know more about American tradition. But this is a really interesting book. What he did is he drove around for 2 years to every little town in Spain, and these tiny little bakeries, and he took awesome pictures.
Wow.
And he got really beautiful recipes. Here, I'll show you this one that I think is really cool. So, like, this is the inside back cover. And so I don't know if you can see it. It's all the radios.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it. So these are all the radios that he found in all of the bakeries, and they were all covered in flour, right? And then here on the inside front cover is all the beautiful bags of flour that, of course, you'll never find in the United States. Never, never, never. But what was interesting to me was that they have all of these incredible flours there that you can't get here, and they're biodynamic and they're organic, and they have especially in the north of Italy, they have a really long and beautiful history of making like high hydration breads. There's one called Pan de Cristal, which is amazing. It's a lot like pizza bianca or ciabatta, but it's actually higher in hydration than most of those. It's 90 and 100%. So anyway, a lot of those bakeries are doing really beautiful stuff. But the style that I became obsessed with before the trip is called coca de forner, and it's a high hydration dough, but it's a sweet dough. And that is just amazing. So when I was in Barcelona, my wife would go out every day and go to like museums and boring stuff like that. And I would go hit up like 5 bakeries, right? Boring stuff. That to me was amazing. And you know what was so funny to me was that, again, because Spain has such a terrible publicist for its bakeries, even within Spain, that I'd be going to these historic bakeries and I'd jump in a cab and I'd tell the cab driver where I was going. And in my best Spanish, I would communicate how excited I was. And the guy would be like, I never heard of it. He's like, are you sure it's there? I'm like, it's actually one of the most famous bakeries in your city. How long you been driving a cab? The guy would be like, 50 years. I'm like, 50 years and you never heard of one of the most famous bakeries in your own city. Wait, went right here. And I would run in, grab something, bring them something out, you know. But what's cool about the Spanish culture is that they take this stuff for granted. They all have these neighborhood bakeries. They don't know if they're big on Instagram. You know, all they know is that it's awesome bread and it's reasonably priced and it's super high quality and consistent. It's been there forever, generations. So anyway, I'm all about Spanish bread. And then I'm going to be working with a chef from Buenos Aires, and we're going to be covering Argentinian or pizza from Buenos Aires, which is really, really, really awesome. So they have a really incredible pan pizza tradition there. And they do wood-fired pan pizzas, and they're really good. They're not. They think people there think it's Italian, but it's not really very Italian. You won't find this exact stuff in Italy, but it's pretty amazing. So I was
wood-fired pan, huh?
Do you remember Roberto Peterson?
Roberto Peterson.
He took actually all of our classes when we first started, from the beginning all the way to the advanced, and he's one of the big chefs in Latin America. So I hit him up recently, and he's going to do a Zoom pizza collab with us, and we're gonna feature some of the Argentinian styles. So I'm super excited about that. So
yeah, it sounds awesome.
This is going to be our 2021 rollout. Let's see. I was on the phone with Daniele Uditi from Pizzana today. I finally got him to agree to do 3 classes with me. So super exciting. That guy.
Major.
I've been chasing him for months. Yeah. He's so busy.
He barely had time enough to pop onto the Pizza Zoom when we did the.
And I finally got Dan from Razza in Jersey City. He's going to be jumping on. He's been super busy. He and Katie Parla just finished photographing their book. He was actually supposed to be on with us like a month ago doing an advanced class, but he didn't finish his photo shoot in time. So instead of doing the advanced class with us, he finished his photo shoot, 6 days of beautiful pizza photography.
And he's working on that with Katie Parla. Is that correct?
Katie
Parla, who did our Focaccia Pugliese fundraiser.
Oh, your Italian's getting better by the minute.
Don't you tell anybody, please.
I don't know if the G is silent, so we're gonna have to
Pugliese, Pugliese.
Yeah, they very, very soft G, I think.
Pugliese. So that was good. We raised a bunch of money and sent that to.
She's gonna be coming back too. Hopefully, she's got a lot of knowledge she wants to throw down.
Knowledge. So once again, people, friends, and country breads, let's try to keep our questions off the chat in the question and answer section. We already have about 7. We've got a couple in here. We do have a friend. Can you see the chat? Alessandra is saying, oh no, I'm sorry. Mariano Cordonero. She's saying she's from Guatemala.
Excellent.
She's the owner and chef of Terra Nostra. She put her Instagram thing in there. She's interested in taking the courses. She doesn't have a lot of time, but like, what would she recommend? Let's just talk generally. So we do a beginner class, which is a hand mix. We do an intermediate class where we talk about the 14 steps of artisan baking, and we do a improved mix, same style dough. And then we did the advanced class that is the hyper mix with a higher hydration dough. And we talk about recipes. And then since then, we've done a bunch of different classes. Noel?
So she wants to know. She's asking which one she
She's
should
saying
take.
which she doesn't have a lot of time. What do we recommend? I mean, it's
So
going to be, that's going to be tough. It's like it seems like you do looks like from your Instagram, you guys do wood fired, almost braided pizza crust. It looks beautiful. If
where's
anybody
that?
wants to check that out,
Where do I find that link?
go to
I
the
think
chat. She's the second one in the
I'll
chat.
go in the chat. I can
Yeah,
go in my own chat, can I?
yeah.
Let's click on that and see what happens. All right. So
Looks like she's
here's
got some beet pizza. That looks great. She's got red dough here. Ooh,
yeah,
looks pretty good.
nice little nice little Instagram there.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say. These days, what I find a lot of people are doing is doing the on-demand classes for the beginner 1, 2, and 3. Looks like she already has her pizza game dialed in. So the question is, does she want to do intermediate before she
Mariano,
does the
I
advanced?
think it's
Mariano,
him.
sorry.
My bad.
I've been having that problem a lot lately, haven't I?
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that.
What can we
Anyway,
do?
so I would say the on demand is where it's at for the level 1 classes. For those of you who are not on our mailing list, we're doing deep discounts at the end of the year for the holidays. So for people who have been taking our live Zoom and on demand classes, we are currently offering 50% off the on demand classes. So a lot of people are taking advantage of that as well. We have a new functionality on our website. If you go just down from the homepage, there is a gift a class module, which I'm really excited about for on-demand classes only. So a lot of people have been applying their 50% off discounts to gifting classes. So that's really cool. We've been working that pretty hard. And then let's see, last week we sent out a mailer. What's it called? MailChimp for 25% off to everybody on our mailing list. And nobody knows this yet, but this week on Thursday, we're going to up that 25% off to 50% off.
Oh, my Lord.
So we're giving it away, Justin. We're giving it away.
And then you know what? Itching.
So basically, and another thing we're doing is for everybody who signs up, instead of having just 7 days to take the class, everybody's got 30 days now. Because a lot of people are buying the class now. They're not going to gift it till Christmas. Right. We don't want people to rush too hard. So as long as you sign up, I think by Christmas, you'll have 30 days to take the class. So that's a one-time only offer. And then the idea being we want to get as many people signed up for the beginner 1, the intermediate 1, the advanced 1, so that when we continue to roll out the level 2 courses, intermediate and advanced, we will have people who are well schooled in the basics of artisan pizza and bread. They'll know about hand mixing. They'll know about the basic mixing styles, technologies like stretch and folds and bulk fermentation and high hydration mixing, all that good stuff. So one of the questions we get a lot, Justin, I wish you were here to help me answer these questions during the day because it's the same ones over and over. We have an FAQ now to help with that. But a lot of people are asking, do I have to take, intermediate 2 before I take, I have to take intermediate 1 before I take intermediate 2? And guess what the answer is? No, you don't have to.
No, you don't have to, but it's encouraged so you understand what we're doing. It's stages, and if you skip the first stage, what we try to establish everybody is like we joke around and it's the foundation, it's the dough, right? And if you don't have a solid foundation, and that's literally your pizza crust, but it's also the knowledge about the process, because we say it's not necessarily about a recipe. Recipe is a good jumping off point. The recipe is where you begin, right? It's not about that. It's more about the process, the make to bake, getting your schedule down, figuring out those variables in your pizza equation. And if you don't have the beginner class, you just jump to the intermediate class, you're going to miss some of that foundation. And we encourage you to do it if that's really what you want. I mean, we're not here, telling you guys what to do, but the reality is, it's better to have a little bit of understanding about what we do and the way our process works if you just jump into an 85% hydration dough.
There you go.
So that would be my thing. So, and also a lot of the things that, especially in some of these advanced 2s and intermediate 2 classes, we're not taking time to go through our ingredients. We're not taking time to scale. We're not taking time to show you necessarily how you get your DDT nailed because we've already done that. And we what we do with these intermediate twos and advanced twos is we bring people on to kind of give us insight into what they do, and we encourage everybody to have kind of like a little bit of prerequisite. But hey, if that's not your gig, we totally understand. It's all right. It's all right. But it is encouraged. It is encouraged. So what are you thinking? We want to try to get some of these Q&A jams going?
Let's get it going.
All right, we got John. John says he watched the intermediate class this week on demand, and he's got a few follow-up questions. All right, John, great. I'd love to just type them in there, and we're going to talk about them. So I don't think John typed. Oh, there he is. Okay. He said, in the intermediate class, you had a DDT of 72. So that's the desired dough temperature. Mm-hmm. Do you want that after mixing? Yes. Your desired dough temperature, you want it to be 72 after it comes out of the bowl. No? Right?
Yep. So,
okay. Yep.
Justin.
So, he says,
wait, okay. You said no. You said no, right? You said no. You called my name. So let me just expand on what you said, then we'll go on. So what we try to explain is that every recipe, every style of pizza or bread has a different desired dough temperature. And so for the intermediate class, we feature a New York style pizza. A New York style pizza has a desired dough temperature historically of 70 to 72. Some people do it higher, some people do it lower. That's the one that we choose. When we used to do the in-person classes, remember, Justin, we used to do a Neapolitan mix as well, and that desired dough temperature was about 78.
Right, that was the short mix. That was the short mix,
and then we would also do like a Roman style or a high hydration style, and that was kind of in between because there was a long fermentation going on there, but we wanted some good activity, that big open crumb, so we were at about 74, right, kind of right in between, as high as 76. So, yeah, to answer that question, for that particular class, it's between 70 and 72, but it really depends on your, as Justin says, your make-to-bake schedule and the recipe you're following and all that fun stuff. So, good question.
And then he's asking, just to follow up, what temps do you want after the stretch and fold or after the balling? Are you trying to maintain that 72?
I'm trying to maintain that 72. I really am.
I mean, like when we ball, I try to ball no earlier than like at 60, 65 degrees. So usually in the stretch and fold, if you're too warm, we get that bad boy into the refrigerator for the first one, maybe try to bring it down, but we try to maintain, under 74 if possible. Right. And then for balling, usually I allow the dough allow the dough to sit out for 2 or 3 hours. So it comes up a little bit if it's been in the cold retard. Yeah.
It depends on how long your fermentation schedule is. So if you're gonna ball that day, then I would say 2 to 3 hours sounds about right to me. If you're gonna ball that day and put it back for another day or two, then really I wouldn't let it sit out for longer than maybe a half hour at the most, because it's going to continue to ferment, and depending on the recipe, you want to maintain control of the fermentation. So, as Justin always says, it depends on your schedule.
Right. So Joe's from New York, says he's taking the pizza school. I don't know what that is, but I hope it was with us. But yeah,
no, that's not us. It's someone else.
It's pizza school in New York City. He can't seem to get his dough to spread out after I let it sit and rise. It just shrinks back together. I guess. How long do you let it sit? What do we like to do? We like to let our balls sit at least 4 hours before we try to open them up.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of things. So I don't know what recipe they teach at the pizza school. So we're a little higher than average for New York pizza. We're at about 65%. Mm-hmm. And in the 2.0 classes, we go up to about 70 to 72% for like a new school New York or a New York 2.0. But a lot of those old school New York guys, they're at 58 or 60% with high protein or high gluten flour. So yeah, it could take a long time, not hours, but days sometimes, Justin.
Right. We did a bar pizza, bar style pizza. And it was like, it was super low. It was 55%, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And the only way we got that to spread out was to roll it through a sheeter with a rolling pin. So, I mean, usually my dough's maybe about 68% hydrato, and then I let it sit out for a couple hours before I ball it. And then after I ball it, I let it sit out for 2 hours, and then back into the fridge. And then on the day that I use it, it sets out for a minimum of 3 hours, probably, 5 or 6 before it, and by that time it's very supple. And like Attilio said, when we did the New York style with pre-ferments, he was at like 72% hydrate. I mean, he was up there, right?
He's an extreme person, that guy. We love Attilio. He's doing next level New York pizza for sure.
But if your dough is snapping back, it's like maybe a hydration issue, or maybe it's
issue.
A temperature issue, or just it's a time issue. I mean, you got to let it. You got to let it. Yeah. You got to let it rest. So.
If he wants to do a follow-up question, if he wants to let us know what kind of flour he's using and what the hydration is, that would be helpful.
Right. I mean, it depends on if you're using what. I mean, what's the common flour that they all use?
They're using high gluten flour or really strong bread flour.
Which one is it? It's the, what do you call it?
I don't know the brand name. I can't.
Yeah, you do. What's New York, traditional New York? They're using, you always.
All Trumps?
All Trumps. That's what it is. Yeah.
You're lucky I remembered that, because my memory is not that good.
What?
Justin, don't do that again.
You love Trumps.
I do love Trumps. Thank you for reminding me.
There you go. But you always say that that is a stronger flour.
Stop telling me what I always say. I can't remember what I just said 5 seconds ago.
I'll tell you. I'll be your memory.
Good.
You always say that All Trumps is a very strong flour, correct?
It's so strong, I can't believe it. Yeah, second only to Manitoba.
And that's Canadian.
That is Canadian.
There we go. All right. So Eric Garcia, thank you. Eric's taken both the beginner and the advanced slow rise. Thanks.
Excellent.
So he's asking about sourdough starter feeding recommendations.
Oh, God.
So this is what he says: 1 to 1 to 1, or 1 to 2 to 2, and any others he can think of. So.
All right. So I'll give you off the top of my head what I like to do. There's an awesome book here, and I'm going to say it's here, but yeah, there it is. No, it's not. There's a book called The Bread Builders, and it's got Chad Robertson on the cover from when he was like 19 years old. He's working the wood-fired oven. It's an awesome 2-part book. One part of it is all about sourdough, and the other part is about wood-fired oven building. And in that book, there's a chart, and the chart describes a feeding schedule that I really like. And I'm being very specific because when I started to experiment with sourdough, I fell in real deep, and I didn't know who to believe in terms of feeding schedule, right? And so when I started using this one, it changed everything. So I'll break it down for you real quick.
Break it down.
I would say 2 parts water, 2 parts flour, 1 part starter for the first feed. All right. Then 1 to 1 to 1 for the next 2 feeds. After that, you should be good to go. Now, everybody has a different feeding schedule for their starters. And so some people do it once a day. Some people do it twice a day. Some people even do it 3 times a day. Some people do it more. It depends on what you're looking for. So I like a young starter. I like it to be fresh. I don't like it to be very acidic. So I'm a 3 times a day kind of guy. But I know a lot of chefs who I work with that are like, no, I'm not feeding my starter 3 times a day, 2 times at the most. So if that's the case, then you might be feeding your starter, as little as 1 part starter to 10 parts flour and water, or 1 part starter to 5 parts flour and water. So it depends on a lot of variables. So that's a great question, and I wish I had the time to go into it. Daniele UDT is going to be doing an advanced 2 class where we're going to get into that. Dan from Rotza is going to be doing an advanced 2 class where we get into that. So what I'd really like to do, and I'm trying to get Stefano from Genoa to do this, I actually want to do a 2-week class where every day we get on for like 15 minutes and we all feed our starter together and talk about it. I think that would be so useful. I'm actually talking about a couple of guys about doing that because, unless you know what you're doing, unless you know what you're looking for, a lot of people are not feeding their starter properly and they're wondering why they're not getting the results they want. So it's a great question, and I wish I had more time to answer it. Justin? I think you're muted, Justin. You did the thing you always tell me not to
Sorry,
do.
sorry, sorry. Here we go. So Maria is, we know and love Maria, who has
Maria
been
from
in,
New Jersey.
Maria has been in every single one of our
She's been
classes.
in every class. She's
I don't know
amazing.
if she's ever baked any pizza in any of our classes, but she has sat there and been a
I think
wonderful
she has.
student.
I think maybe one time her family ate all our pizza, and
Well,
maybe now she has.
I know she's got the really nice looking oven and a beautiful wreath in the window, if I might say, Maria. Noticed that
Mm,
the other day.
mm,
So
mm.
here we go. This is gonna bust my hump and probably yours too. She's saying, "Hey, can you review the math from Stefano, the Ciabatta class?"
Review the math. Which math?
I'm sure that that's the math on the whiteboard from the
Yeah.
Ciabatta
I
class.
mean, I can go grab it later. It's on my desk. Yeah. So I will review it, Maria. I will review it later.
That
So
was one that had me, Maria. I'm with you. I was a little
I will
stumperingy.
review it later. I'm going to do it at the end, Maria. Ask Maria if she's going to be on for the whole time.
Yeah,
And
Maria,
that's
just let
super
us know.
advanced. It's an
You can
advanced two
hit me
topic.
in the chat. That's we there was a little bit of confusion. I think that what that confusion resulted in was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Noel. It had to do with like scaling your, if you make a big batch of starter that have consistent amounts of flour, water, and yeast in them. How do you then navigate that into scalability with your overall recipe? Is that correct?
I mean, that's one of the issues we talked about. We talked
Okay.
about a lot of issues. I would not focus on that, but I am curious to know exactly what Maria wants us to focus on. And we will at the end if she's going to be around. That's a great
Yeah,
question.
we'll bring you
Super
on.
advanced.
Okay, Maria. Yep. Thank you. And it's wonderful to see you again. All right. Chris is saying, Chris from Florida, what's up, dude? All right. New to the office hours. Okay. Awesome. Well, we are too. This is only our second time. So I've not yet attended a class, but he plans on doing so. Okay. Benefit of using the sourdough levain versus yeast and flours that might work best for one or the other. What we encourage is start with yeast because it's not about the recipe. Hello, ABZ. Start with yeast because it's not necessarily about the recipe. Get your method down and then start tinkering. The benefit of the sourdough using a starter is you're going to get more complex flavors, but the yeast will enable you to get your method down. And there is, madness in that method. Flours that work best for one or the other, it's wide and varied. There are multitudes of different flours. It's really going to depend on what style you're working on, what type of pizza you want to make that is going to dictate maybe some of the different flours that you want to use. Noel, any thoughts on, if you're using
Let
a
me jump on.
starter?
Let me jump on that one. Let's try to do one question at a time. So let's see. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Justin. I think you should really, especially if you're not an advanced baker, you got to start with a yeasted dough. So you get your recipe down and your technique down. You can make awesome pizza without sourdough for sure. And what I often find, is that a lot of intermediate bakers are trying to apply advanced principles to their baking. And not only do they not have their recipe down or their technique down, but they also don't have their sourdough down. And so even if you only have one down out of three, or maybe two out of three, you're not going to make a good pizza. And it's definitely not going to be consistent. So that's one thing that we always say. In terms of the flours, that's a really good question. I was just talking about that with Daniele. So one of the things we talk about in class a lot is you use your highest protein flour for your pre-ferment, because the acids tend to wear down the glutens, and so you want to make sure that you're not depleting the glutens by using the lower protein flours in the pre-ferment, like a levain. And then another thing that's important too is if you're trying to really dial in the flavor profiles. I'm a big fan of using, like in the Italian side, the type 1 or the type 2 or a rye flour, because you get these very, very complex, nutty, aromatic types of profiles that I absolutely love. And it's really a game of balance, because a lot of people are just into the sourdough thing and they go hard on the sourdough, but there's not much nuance there. So you got to really focus on your feeding schedule, and you got to really play around with flour types and figure out what you love. I know a lot of chefs that they put 2% rye in their starter and they get really beautiful results. I know a lot of Italian guys that are super careful with acidity, but they want like a nice deep, rich flavor, so they use the type 1s and the type 2s. So, great question.
Is there an American equivalent to an Italian flour type 2? I mean, that just type 2 just has a lot of the bran and the husk and stuff in it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the type 2, it could be a whole wheat flour. It could be a type 85 flour or something
Like
in
very, very unsifted. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you pick it up and you can see the bran and stuff in it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Petra. Petra is the brand that Daniele Oditi uses, and we were talking about it on Sunday. They have so many variations. It's not inexpensive, but because Daniele uses it and a few other chefs on the West Coast, we can get it. I think you can get it on the East Coast as well. So they do have, there are Italian and American equivalents, but for me, if you want to experiment with Italian flour, you should experiment with Italian flour. If I had to say what I like to do, I like to blend and use the Italian flours for their flavor, their aroma, their color. But I like to use the American flours or the North American flours for their performance. They have better fermentation tolerance and they hold up better to long fermentation. I can really, beat the crap out of them in a mixer if I'm doing a hyper mix.
Whoa.
No, I mean, this is what I like to do. And so I meet Italian guys who don't like to blend even Italian flours, and I meet Italian guys and gals who don't like to mix Italian and American flours. But I got to say, I'm lucky because I work with a lot of chefs and they mix, they blend, they get exactly what they want out of it. So.
I like mixing. I use both King Arthur and Caputo flours in mine, and then I love a little Bob's Red Mill. So I'm all over the place.
You are all over the place. I do agree.
Story of my life.
What do you have? Some of your pizza has like 6 flours, right, Justin?
It's 6. Yeah, I mean my New York style.
Dangerous.
My New York style is a Polish and 6 flours.
I don't know if that's New York style. I think that's Justin.
That's my style. It's got a nice cornicione.
You know what that is? Like. That's New York 3.0.
Yeah, it's super thin and crispy.
Super thin and crispy. I like that.
Yeah. And what I've been doing now is I bake it and then I tell people to go and finish it in there. I par bake it and I let them finish it in their cast iron skillets because I'm dropping it down over my balcony. All right. So Dave Kaplan here. Diggs, good to thank you for spending some QT with us. He is asking, he's taking the Zoom beginner 1, intermediate 1. He just took the bar pie class with us on Saturday, and he's asking. He liked the swirling. I believe that's the sour cream swirl going on, and I'm trying to figure out right now because he was saying, did the sour cream swirl go on after the cut or before the cut?
I would do it after the cut.
So you cut the pie and then you do the swirl, so everybody gets.
Well, just because the swirl looks beautiful. Although you can't cut a swirl.
What about
you can't cut arugula? You can't cut prosciutto.
What about like skizz dogs?
Justin, I'm answering the question. If you want to try to use skizz dogs, use skizz dogs.
There you go. I'm using some skizz dogs all the time. So yeah. So Dave, cut first, swirl second.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Andrew from beginner class. What it is, Drew, my dog.
Oh yeah, Andrew from this last week.
Drew, he's got a million questions. It's all good, dude. We're here. We're here. He said, I believe that you mentioned that 4 hours is optional for a hand mix.
4 hours is optional for a hand mix. I do agree.
Yeah. So as opposed to 2 hours. So if you're going through the process that long, he's asking about the specific breakdowns.
Oh, okay. So here's what I would say.
For 4 hours.
4 hours. I would say the mix would last for the better part of 1 hour.
Okay.
And then I would say bulk fermentation lasts for the better part of 3 hours.
Now, can I ask, is that for 1 hour, you're 5 on, 5 off?
I wouldn't say exactly 5 on, 5 off. I would say you mix for 5 minutes, you auto lease for 10, you mix for 5 minutes. You break for 10, you mix for maybe 3 minutes or 2 minutes. You break for 5 or 10.
Taco
I
and
mean, it's a
turns.
lot more. It's a lot more waiting
Right.
than it is mixing.
Yeah.
And
And I think that that's the thing that I think that in the beginner class that we did that Drew was in, there were some people in there that didn't understand that. And then the next day they're trying to shape their dough, not unlike our friend from New York was saying. He's like, why is it snapping back? What's going on? A lot of what our phyllo dough, and I'm not talking about puff pastry. You guys know. I'm talking about the philosophy behind it is you do a little mix and then you let it be. You allow it. You enable the dough to do the dough's thing. Because if you're beating the dough up, trying to, nobody puts baby dough in a corner. It's going to snap back. And you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dancing in West Virginia or something. I'm talking about the pizza pie, the pizza dance. What's that movie? What am I trying to think of? Dirty Dancing. Anyway,
Justin, it's dangerous to try to read your mind. All right.
talking about Dirty Dancing. So, all right. So yeah. So a little bit on, more time off. A little bit on, more time off. A little bit on, more time off. Tacos and turns. The dough is going to speak to you. A couple rips and tears. Set it down. 10 minutes. Pick it back up. Taco and turn. Leave me alone. It says. Then you stick it in bulk and allow it to bulk. You might do a 2-hour little bulk fermentato, right? Couple tacos and turns, depending on.
Justin, slow down. Do you have any water there?
No, I got water.
Please.
Yeah. Got water.
I got water. You sound like Jack Nicholson when you say that.
Oh yeah, I got water. So yeah, remember, Drew, I have more faith in you than I think that you do with your pizza pie. You just gotta listen to your dough. If there are micro tears, set it down.
He needs to take the intermediate class. He needs to. He's gonna suck it up.
Well, here's the thing. Do you have a mixer? Because we encourage you to do. The intermediate class has a mixer.
It's doable without. He could watch and learn. But I think the reason I'm saying he should do the intermediate class is that we go over all the mixing styles and we go over the different mixing and fermentation schedules. And it's really helpful to know what is the range of bulk fermentation. What is the most and the fewest number of stretch and folds, right? How long can you bulk ferment or bulk retard for, right? What's the norm for Roman? What's the norm for focaccia? What's the norm for New York or Neapolitan?
Well, it's so interesting that you're saying focaccia and you're saying all these pizza styles, because that was one big thing that we were talking about. You say pizza, but there are 10 different styles that all have 10 different desired dough temperatures, and there are 10 or 15 different methods of kind of mix maps or processes that you can approach your dough that will give you different results. And it's just us trying to help you to understand and vocalize what you are looking for. So then we can maybe say, this is the path that you need to take to get it there. So Joe's saying 24 hours. So is that a 24-hour bulk retard, cold retard? Or is that an overnight? Are you doing Neapolitan at room temp? And room temp is always different. He says he's using type 00. So I guess Joe is doing what I'm assuming Joe is doing, and Joe, this is his follow-up, that Joe is doing a 24-hour Neapolitan 00 flour.
Okay.
So if it's snapping back, I would say it's overmixed.
I think it. Look, if you're using 00 flour and you're snapping back, I would not say it's overmixed. I would say that the fermentation needs to be dialed in, because the thing about 00 flour is that it doesn't create a dough that snaps back. It's extensible. That's what it is by nature. So the funny thing, Justin, is that if you go to most Neapolitan pizzerias, the dough is overmixed. You're right. But what they do then is they don't do any stretch and folds, and they ball it up almost immediately. And that dough has hours and hours and hours.
Overnight, usually, right? I mean, 24 hours to just chill.
No, not overnight. It's usually a Neapolitan style is anywhere from 8 to about 16 hours. That's a tradition. And it's a room temperature rise. It's not refrigerated. So if you're doing a 24-hour Neapolitan, I would not call that traditional. But if you're having problems with it snapping back, here's what I would say. Do your mix and ball it up immediately. Let it sit out for as much time as possible. Get it in the fridge. and then um, let it sit out for as much time as possible again. You should not have Neapolitan pizza snapping back. If you are, then probably you're taking liberties with some of the rules. And one of the things we talk about is that you got to learn the rules before you break them. So what we find is that people are often breaking 2 or 3 rules minimum, 6 or 8 rules maximum, and if you're breaking even 2 or 3, you're in trouble. So we try to rein people in. We try to teach them the traditional ways to make Neapolitan in New York and Roman and you name it, and then we go crazy with fermentation or bulk retarding or hydration or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we learn to draw within the lines before you draw outside of them.
Seriously.
Alessandra is here with us again. It's wonderful to thank you for joining us. Had her balls. My balls had 2 big bubbles. Is that good or bad?
Well, I guess 2 is better than 1. I don't know. I would say you don't really want big bubbles.
These are your dough balls, I'm assuming. So you don't really
Yeah.
want there to be a big bubble. That might need one more taco in turn for strength. Is that a
You know what I would say, Justin? You know what I would say? Usually, here's what we say. If you have a hole in your dough or if you have a big bubble, that's usually the pre-shape, right? And so when we're pre-shaping and we're final shaping, remember how we always degas? We degas
That's
a
our
lot
little
of times.
So just so everybody knows what Noel is talking about. So when we separate our dough, when we cut it into whether it's 3 for the half batch or 6, we set all our little pieces aside, and then we take the first one and we do what I call the Cloverfield, and we take both edges and we kind of give it a little degas, and then the 2 edges come over and just gently overlap. I call it the kiss, or maybe it's a hug, because they're just hugging. We're not doing a fold or anything like that. They're just gently kind of folding. And then we take the other 2 edges, the 2 corners, if you will, whether it's an obtuse or this or that, you want to take the opposite corners, right? Give it a little slap, degas, and then we fold them over just so they're like this. You don't want them really like this. You don't want them like this. You want them just enough. And then we set that one aside. And so that little bench degassing pre-shape enables us to then create really nice looking balls.
I love it.
Okay, so this is a follow-up for Alessandra. So baked 2 pies, one on the pizza stone, and it came out perfect. Okay. Crispy, I think she means crispy and well baked. The other one was in the pan, the oven pan with the parchment paper. And it came out almost burnt on the top and not cooked evenly inside. Does the parchment paper do this? Would it have been wiser to put the pizza directly on the pan with some oil? So my attitude would be yes. Put a little olive oil or a little Crisco, dimple out on your pan, and then put that on your pizza stone for a little bit so you get a crispy bottom, and then move it up to another rack because you don't want it to burn. Noel, any thoughts on that? Yeah, I mean, we usually use parchment only if you have to. Usually that's beginner class for people that don't have that's like a kind of a quote unquote workaround a little bit,
Let me add to that because Justin, we also use that a lot in professional situations. I've worked in a lot of bakeries where you're doing focaccia, for instance. Chester, for instance, who's a professional chef, he uses it with his little like 8-inch focaccias, and so there's reasons to use them as beginners and also as advanced. You want to make Justin. You know what we should ask her? What's her heat source and what part of the oven was she using?
Well, I just love the idea that she baked 2 pizzas. One was on the stone and it came out perfect.
Yeah.
So it's like my attitude is like, if it came out perfect on the stone, then cook on the stone for sure. Unless you're trying to do like a deeper dish or something like that needs the pan. So
that's hard logic to argue with.
Yeah. So, all right. Okay. I'm just making sure. Okay. Jeff Taylor saying, can you get big fluffy crust using a 60 to 62% hydration cooking in a wood-fired oven?
Yes, of course you can.
Yeah.
So the thing with big fluffy crust and low hydration is that what you need is a very small amount of yeast and a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Or maybe some pre-ferment in there. Yeah.
yeah, pre-ferment would be good too. What I would say is that I worked at a Neapolitan pizzeria in New York, one of my first jobs working in a Neapolitan place, and they were using 62% hydration dough, and I didn't think much of it. It was like normal Neapolitan, but here's what I noticed: when that dough would ferment for like the better part of 3, 4, or 5 days, it would act and perform like 80% hydration dough. And it would make really beautiful bread that had a really nice open crumb and had beautiful aromas, a little bit off sometimes, but that's just because they weren't controlling their fermentation. It was like one of those situations. So yes, anything is possible. The key, I think, really is learning to control fermentation. And if you have a low hydration dough, you dial the yeast way down. So half and then half and then half and then half until it barely rises. And so what I think is that if you want to go low hydration, then follow what the Neapolitans do. Use a room temperature rise, go up to about 16 or even 24 hours, like Justin says, with like 1% levain, 2% levain, like nothing, and see how that beautiful dough performs at 60 or 62%. You'll get a beautiful open crumb, nice puffy cornicione. You still have to learn to control the fermentation. You still got to nail your pre-shape and your final shape and your stretch and folds if you're using them. But yeah, the easier way to do it is just use more hydration.
Awesome. Great. Dave Cap. Yeah, he definitely put the sour cream on post bake. That was definitely post bake for Adam's swirls. I just wanted to make sure. And thank you, Ben.
A lot of heat on those swirls, huh, Justin?
It looks good. I mean, I'm a dipper. I'm not, my pizzas, I don't know. We're all doing it for the gram these days. I mean, it's like when we joke around, if it doesn't happen on Zoom, does it really even happen at all? So here we go. Drew Martin took the beginner and intermediate on-demand class. Thanks, Andrew.
Wow.
So after about an hour, I get a nice 2-foot long stretch for the first stretch and fold. 2 foot long.
Yes.
Okay. But when I turn the bowl and try to stretch it the next side, it's more of a ball shape and it doesn't want to stretch.
Okay.
Is an hour too early for stretching?
Good question. Excellent question. All right. So one of the things about
I just tell you what he just said, and then I just saw he's doing 66% hydrato.
Yeah.
And it says 66-ish degrees.
Okay, so two things. One,
King Arthur bread.
66 is too cold for stretch and folds. I think that's just too cold. Number one, you can do it, but you're gonna make your dough more tight. Number one. Number two, how you stretch and fold your dough is really important too. Are you being gentle? Are you being forceful? To me, if you're doing the intermediate class, then that tells me you're doing the improved mix, and the improved mix is 1 or 2 stretch and folds. And so here's what I would say. If you want to do 2 stretch and folds, then you have to mix less. If you only want to do 1, which it sounds like your dough, it's all it needs, then just do 1. Don't force it at 2. It's 1 or 2 stretch and folds.
And he says he gets a 2-foot long stretch and fold.
That's a beautiful.
Is that just the first?
Sounds like it, but maybe he shouldn't stretch it 2 feet. Maybe he.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we stretch it this much.
Yeah, we don't do
just because we're more interested in getting all is there something to be said for getting a super long stretch and fold that extends the gluten structure? Is there?
I mean, it sounds great for Instagram. I don't know anybody who's. I mean, also for such a small amount of dough, I wouldn't go more than like 8 or 12 inches.
I mean, yeah, we just go. We go 2/3 wide side, 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, and then flippity floppity. But Drew, yeah, and 66 degrees, you might want to go another 6 degrees on that. Maybe the water you're using is too cold, or maybe maybe work on that DD tizzle. a little bit. Cool. Thanks, Drew. Johnny's asking dough ball size for your 16 inchers. Dog. How many grams? How many grams are you using? 400?
No, right around there. I would say I like about 425 for a 16-inch pie. That's
425, whatever it takes, right, Mr. Mom? Right? Remember that with the chainsaw? Anyway, 425 for a 16-inch, depending on your cornichon.
I know guys that go bigger if they want a big fat cornichon.
Depends on what you're going for. That's your make to bake. That's your pizza equation. That's your pizza crease.
I mean, look, last week I was doing 350s at 16-inch, and it was a super thin pizza. I could even do, depending on the state of my dough, I can go 16 inches at 300 grams, but it's going to be a really thin crust pizza. Mm-hmm. Really nice though.
Yeah. I mean, once again, it's like if you can stretch it that far, do it. But you might be like Noel saying, it might be super thin in the middle. So you need to figure out, do you want a paper thin crust in the middle? Do you want this much? I mean, I would say do one, at 380, do one at 400, do one at 425. I mean, when Noel and I were doing, when we're doing consulting, and we figure, well, let's do one with this, let's do one with that, let's do one with this, right? And then we have all our sheets out that have all the different metrics within them. And we see how they bake, we see how they taste, we see how they perform, we look at the crust, we look at the cornichon, so it's like, and then we start to like weave, okay, we like this one, we don't like that one. Let's put those to the side. Let's focus on the things we do like. What are the characteristics we like about this one? What are the characteristics we like about that one? How do we blend those together? I mean, that's what consulting is. So,
Justin, we got to get you some more consulting work. That was very good.
I mean, I'm not just a handsome face. I know you think that. I know you.
I do think that.
So, all right. So, yeah, if you just got a rock box, the beginner class is going to be good, but the rock box is like the unis. These are great little jams. We actually have a really good friend that we did. Inez was with us. Was she with us yesterday too? I think so.
She was.
Inez, she has a rock box. I would recommend the Perfecting Your Pop-Up game because she showed us her dough mix, and she has a rock box. So that would be something that mentioned there was a discount, but doesn't see it on the website. I think if you go on the website, it's right at the top.
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore.
Oh.
Websites are for people on our mailing list and people who have taken classes now. Yeah. So if you want, guys, we're doing discounts. A big mailing on Thursday. So if you are not on our mailing list and haven't taken a class, you want to get on the mailing list right now.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's a big mistake if you're not on our mailing list.
Well, that's where all the discounts are. We used to have a little 10% at the top of the site.
We wish you a merry something. Happy Hanukkah.
Right. But that was when we were in beta. We're not in beta anymore. Now we're 2.0.
Yeah, this is alpha.
This is alpha. Yeah. Whatever that means.
I don't know. And Alessandra is saying she has a very old gas oven. No idea where the heat source is. Gas is probably at the bottom, just because that's what most gas ovens are. And but my recommendation would be just cook your pizzas on the stone. Don't mess with the pan. Unless you're going for a different style, and then we'll talk about that too.
Was this Alessandra from our beginner class the other night?
Mm-hmm.
Alessandra, I don't know if you have an old oven where your source is. I just posted a picture of an oven, one of my clients' ovens, and it was probably a 90-year-old oven on my.
That was an old oven.
And that had 3 heat sources. Every oven, there was like 4 different ovens in the oven.
That's so crazy.
Everyone had a different heat source. It was amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah. And it got up to 600.
Get out of town. I mean,
it literally had a wood-fired oven in the backyard. They were not messing around.
6 burner, 4 different ovens.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I thought for a Momo that was in Chester's house, but
no, it should be. It has 3 ovens and a warmer.
3 ovens and a warmer. Can you put your doji dough in there and proof the jammies?
You absolutely can.
All right. All right, Stephen.
I know Stephen has more questions.
Yeah, Stephen says, can you briefly review the process of mixing the initial dough?
I mean,
which one? Is it the hand mix? Is it I'm not sure. Taco, refrigerate overnight, briefly about hydration, wood oven. wood oven. Stephen,
You
all
know what
right,
we're going to have to do with Stephen? We're going to bring Stephen
we'll
on at the end. We'll have a
bring you
chat
on at
because
the
this is a
end
very
here.
broad question. And we just did 4 hours of class with Stephen. So I don't know if I can review that without knowing what he's asking for.
So Laura's asking, would the beginner class be good for me to use a rock box? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things about the beginner class is that in the first round of classes, beginning one, intermediate, and advanced one, that's the only class where we actually did a bake. Now that we're in the level 2 classes,
no, just the beginner part 1 and 2 we baked, right?
Yeah. So if you're gonna, like, for instance, actually that would be probably the best one. I think we have a class coming up at the last week of December. That would be perfect. You know what I love about that class? You got people with gas ovens, electric ovens, unis, rock boxes, wood-fired ovens, you name it. We haven't had a coal-fired oven yet, have we?
We had Stephen was there with us the other day, and he was kicking it. Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, he had a beautiful oven.
Yeah, he did.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he had a really nice oven. He sure did.
So, but yeah, Laura. So what we focus on the hand mix, and for people that are using the rock box and the unis and the Blackstones, they cook at a little higher temperature than your kitchen oven. So we recommend people is maybe just take out the sugar, maybe reduce some of the olive oil in the mix, but the process will be similar. The process of messing with the dough a little bit, allowing the dough to sit, messing with the dough, allowing it to sit, gives you that confidence and the structure that you need so you can make your own dough by hand that will work really well in a home wood-fired oven, whether that be the rock box, the uni, the Blackstone, or whatever other Manfrottos and all that good stuff. Yeah? No?
Mm-hmm.
Anything? All right. Here we go. Joe from Florida. What's up, dude? Go Florida. At-home enthusiast, experimenting with higher hydrations. Any shaping advice for doughs at 70-72? Okay. And he goes on to say, I felt fine at lower numbers, but it's much more slack dough. I feel like I'm starting over again. Practice makes perfect. Yeah, I mean, Chris Bianco, you burn, you learn. But maybe a little bit more bench flour.
Here's what I would say, Justin. One of the things that we teach people in the beginner class and the intermediate class is the pre-shape. And so a lot of the times with the higher hydration dough, it's very sticky. It's hard to build structure. So we say a pre-shape goes a long way. So if let's say you're doing just 6 dough balls, you divide them all out, you lay them out in some well-floured surface, and then you come around and you do the pre-shape on all 6, and that begins to build structure. Then when you pick up those dough balls after the pre-shape, after 2 bench rests, right, then you've got a dough with a little bit of structure, but it's relaxed enough that you can shape it however you want. So I would say the pre-shape is your key.
Gotcha. Good. Yeah. Pre-shape. Don't skip the steps. 14 steps of bacon. We go over.
You tell them, Justin. Don't skip the steps.
I mean, that's the thing. It's it's like we were telling people. It's like, when you put your dough down, you let it be, right? I see people on the thing just still kneading their dough. Like, what are you doing? It's not going to work out. Then you're saying,
they're adding steps. Why is my
dough
skip them, but don't
in?
add them, Justin? Okay, don't add steps, please.
If anything,
isn't 14 enough?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, take fewer steps and just give it more time.
Oh God, don't do that.
That's what I say. Just give it more time.
Don't listen to Justin.
Just let it hang out.
Here's our
day.
rule: out of the 14 steps of baking, you can skip 1 or 2 steps. 2 or more, I'm gonna notice, and somebody else is too. So don't be skipping steps. Justin, don't tell them to skip steps.
Our friend Benny is asking about the focaccia that we made yesterday.
Oh boy, that was a good one.
Ben, I hope that your mixer is working. Sorry, bud. So when we're pushing down, we're not pushing with the edges, we're pushing with the pads, and we're doing it like this.
3 fingers, right?
3 fingers, yeah. Boom, boom, boom. He says that they aren't holding. So there was a lot of snapback too when he was rolling it into the pan. Now, and this is his question, is that too high of a temp when finishing the mix, or too many stretch and folds?
I mean, okay.
I mean, so I don't really feel like.
Hold on. That is too many. All right. That's a very stiff dough right there. And so what I would say is that it's not too high a temp. It's very low. It's a 55% dough
55.
with some olive oil.
7% olive oil.
Don't be giving away all our recipes, Justin.
Hey,
Thank
you
for
said there are
saying
no
that.
secrets.
There are secrets. They have to take our classes. And don't be putting anything in the chat.
Hey,
all right. So listen, let me answer the question. So here's the thing: if you notice that when Stefano was looking at the dough, he was being very careful, and what he said was, "Don't rush the pizza genovese, the focaccia genovese." So if I had to say, I would say number one, you're rushing it. Number two, if you think that you did, I didn't see him do any stretch and folds. What he did was he very gently just kind of built some surface tension. So if you're doing stretch and folds, that's not something we taught in the class. So we'll get back to Ben later.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't think he did any stretch and folds. He did one tri-fold, but that was just an initial shaping. I feel like he did 1, 2, 3 over and then flipped it. Remember?
No, I don't remember that.
He did. That was his first shaping to get it into the rectangle.
Got it.
He took the dough out.
Yeah. He did.
And he did 1, 2, 3.
That's not a stretch and fold.
But that's what I'm saying. That's real. Yeah, that was more of a pre-shape. That was more of a pre-shape.
No stretch and fold.
He did 2 because we broke his mixer. He says he's sending you the bill for that one. So.
I'll take it. Thank you.
There you go, Benny. So he did 2 of the stretch and folds because the mixer stopped working, thinking that it needed to be more. But at 55% with 7% high oil, I mean, you're really looking at what, 62%? I mean, if that. So
with with half high hydration flour, I would say you want it to be nice and relaxed. So next time, I would say one less stretch and fold if you have to do them. I would say more time. What did he say? Don't rush the focaccia.
Right, that's what he said. He said, "Allow the lady to live." Or allow. I thought it was very romantic. Our relationship with our focaccia. Alessandra's asking, "What type of mixer should I get? Not too expensive, not too basic. We like anything over the 4.5 quart. I mean, get a KitchenAid that's a 6 quart that has the curly Q and not the Captain Hook. The curly Q is the one. That's just the one that we like to use because Noel's saying now they have
call it the corkscrew, Justin.
No. That's my wine opener, and I'm drinking big.
Do you know that your wine opener is actually called a corkscrew?
I'm drinking.
We gotta get you some restaurant jobs, Justin.
I'm gonna drink it. No way,
dude. We gotta get you some restaurant jobs.
No, you don't.
We do.
No.
Think about how much you learned working at Hotel Irwin.
That seems like a lot of work. I'm too handsome for that.
You are pretty handsome, but I think we still need to get you. How about a stage or two, Justin?
I'm front of the house, baby.
You are not front of the house.
Yeah, I talk it and I walk.
How many plates can you carry?
No, I mean I'm the greeter. That's what I'm saying. Like the first guy that comes.
That's where you put dumb. That's where you put the dumb people. Dumb people are greeters.
Hey, no, but
you are handsome, but you're too smart to be a greeter. Justin, can we focus? Please.
So, So, we like those. You get the KitchenAid at Costco or something like that. It's not the basic 4.5 model. The 6 is the 6.
I like the 6 and the 7.
The 6 and the 7, yeah. And you can do a good bit of mixing with that. Now, if Noel will wax on diving arm and single arm and all that stuff, but that's a bit beyond.
We like our KitchenAid. You just got to be real careful with them.
Yeah,
and don't forget to register your warranty. It used to be 2 years, now it's 5.
Right. That was a big important thing. So all right. So Gary says, I'd like to know more about that, Justin. I'm not sure if it's probably my career, my hairline, whatever it may be. Let me know. Jeff is saying, okay, can you achieve a big fluffy crust using 62 to 65 in a wood-fired oven?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what's great about that. Yeah.
Couple things. The thing with the wood-fired oven is that you have that heat and you have that oven spring from that high heat. But here's the big problem. In a wood-fired oven, if you don't let the floor of your oven heat up enough, that's where the oven spring comes from. It's the energy traveling up through the stone into the dough, pushing up the dough in just the first couple of minutes. So if you only have top heat, you're not going to get the oven spring you want.
So that means keep your oven on keep some logs in there overnight to make sure that thing never really cools down, right?
Yeah, or start it up in the morning and be very careful to spread your coals over the oven. In a traditional wood-fired pizzeria at the end of the night, you spread all the coals over the entire oven. You close the door, and when you get there in the morning, if it's a good oven, your oven is still at 600 degrees, and the base is ready to go. All you have to do is kind of sweep it out and build another fire, and the thermal mass is there. But a lot of home-fired ovens, there is no thermal mass. There's zero. So maybe we can find out what kind of oven he has. Justin?
He said wood-fired oven.
Well, what
so,
brand? What brand?
All right. Let us know. Let us know. So, John, I guess I just opened a can of worms saying 55 plus 7 equals that much of hydrato. So, do you include olive oil in your overall hydration percentages for your dough recipes?
I do not, but I know that on some pizza forums, they have terms like relative hydration. And so for me, hydration is just water, right? And then there's different kinds of fat, right? And things like olive oil and butter and animal fat, they have solids as well, right? And there's also, I mean, if you put potatoes in, there's hydration in the potatoes. So
I think I brought that
try to
up
keep them separate.
I think I brought that up in Katie Parla's class. I
think that's all you brought up in Katie Parla's class. That was your big thing, Justin. You're a potato genius.
No, I was lobbing softballs at Bianco all night.
Sure
Kidding
were.
me? So that
Jim
guy
Leahy could use a nice softball to hit out of a
Jim
park
Leahy
these days.
was showing us his gangrene.
Oh, let's not get into that. That was gross. Thanks, Jim.
He's got to get that. You remember that little toenail guy, the little fungus?
What was he doing running across the West Side Highway?
I think he tripped and broke his toe or something.
That guy. Where does
he
live?
Sorry.
He lived upstairs from his bakery.
I thought he lived upstairs from me. He keeps banging on my. All right. And so Eric is asking, any recommendado for sourdough discard? English muffins? Pandas?
So here's what I would say. If you really, I know a lot of people who don't like the discard, and so you can go the other way. In a lot of countries in the past, they would never throw out their sourdough. They just keep what is left over, and they keep feeding it. So you tend to get a more acidic sourdough. But if you're using it very regularly, you can get away with it. I worked in the Middle East this last year. Right before COVID, and I was working with a baker from Morocco who was trained by a French guy, and he worked in a huge bakery. And when I was working with him, he had probably 6 or 8 different sourdoughs in the walk-in. He kept them in giant trash cans. And if he pulled out, 40 kilos of sourdough, he put back in, 40 kilos of flour and water. And so they never throw any sourdough away. So that would be the way to go. But the whole system of feeding is very different. But it's absolutely worth trying. And that's
right.
I feel like
Attilio was. I mean, if you're in a professional environment, there is no discard because your discard is making your pizza dough.
But in a home environment, you're
eating a lot of English muffins, I think.
I don't put it in English muffins, but you can make English muffins out of it. You're right, Justin.
Sourdough discard English muffins. People love
that's kind of sour. It's pretty gross, Justin. You know what? Justin, hold on. You're not allowed to give any more sourdough advice until you can keep a sourdough going. All right?
Hey.
I have a lot of plans for you for 2021, Justin. One of them is to learn sourdough. Okay.
Well, that seems like a lot of work too. I mean,
well, here's the thing: if you don't want to do the work, don't be giving advice.
No,
don't be giving advice. We don't do secondhand information in our classes.
Yeah, we do.
We don't know the answer firsthand. We don't give it, right?
So Scotty is asking. He's doing a room ferment for 6 hours. I guess that's just a bulk, and then a cold ferment for 24 to 36 hours.
Okay.
So he's asking what the dough temp should be when he's making the pizza. I think it's more important. It's more important to know what the dough is once it comes out of your mixer or when you're done with your mix.
Hold on. Let's take a step back. What kind of pizza? What kind of flour? How much yeast? Let's start with that.
There you go, Scotty. You gotta come back at us. Drew, our friend Drew, is here again.
Hello,
Any advantage of not putting the dough in the refrigerator overnight, just putting it through to bake?
Every advantage in the world. Also, but it depends on what kind of pizza you're making.
I mean, what we get, You can do that, but it doesn't have any. It's not going to have. It hasn't going to evolve at all.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fermentation. There's no fermentato. If you just make a dough and then go straight to baking it,
Well,
I mean, you say,
I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood the flavor. Are you talking about leaving it out?
is there any advantage? It says just pushing through. Is any advantage not putting the dough in the refrigerator overnight, just pushing through to a bake? Just going
Yeah,
straight to a
so
bake.
it sounds like what he's saying is leaving it out overnight, unless I'm misunderstanding the question. Like they do in Neapolitan pizza. They don't put it in the fridge overnight.
I don't know. You want to answer that? And Drew,
I don't,
jump on
maybe
here
I
at
don't
the end.
understand the question.
To me, he's saying, is there an advantage of letting it retard overnight versus just after you make it, ball it, and bake it?
Yes, then your answer stands. I would.
That's what you're asking. Time always brings stuff like tenor, texture, and flavor.
Yeah, the only thing, look, what we teach in our classes is if you want to mix and bake on the same day, then you need pre-ferments.
Yeah.
And then you can totally do it. You can probably do it in as little as
2 hours.
You probably do it if you're a Nona, then
you can do it in 3 hours. Because we learned yesterday that you can do a pouliche in 2 hours, but you got to up the temp and you got to up the yeast.
You're pushing it. I would say realistically 5 or 6 hours.
Okay, there we go. I do a 4-hour pouliche and it's delicious, but I also let it sit for 3 days, which Noel will tell you is crazy. So
yeah, it's crazy. I'll say it again.
But hey, you say potato, I say tomato. So to each their own. All right, Drew, hit us back up if we didn't get that. Joe, you got it.
I'm sure we didn't get it.
Steve, we're gonna bring you on. We're gonna bring you on in just a minute.
Let's bring these guys on sooner rather than later.
All right.
Let's not have an old timers game in the ninth inning.
All right, here we go.
Let's bring some people on.
Steven,
let's talk.
Coming on.
Where's Steven?
Come on over.
Make sure you have your pants on and your shirt.
I'm not wearing any pants, so. All right, Steve's got a bunch of questions here, so.
Let's talk to Steven.
Steve, why don't you jump on here with us, and we'll get into. We're gonna live answer some of these. Good. I'm gonna clear some questions from the chat.
Thing. We got all our friends on with us. Who wants to look at me and you all night? Not me.
Hey, there he is.
Hey,
what's up?
How are you?
Welcome back.
Just kicking it.
Where are you now, sir? In the living room?
I am. Yes, sir.
When are we coming over?
Who's wandering around in the background? Some family members?
That would be my wife.
Excellent. Sorry to barge in on your living room, but it's nice to see you again, sir.
Does she love pizza?
She does love pizza. She's coming along.
Good. How can we help you, sir?
So I guess one of my questions was, could you briefly review the dough mix? So we put our flour and our water and our yeast together, and
you're talking about the beginner class.
The beginner class.
Yeah. So let's go through it real quick. Ready? I'm going to give you the 60-second version. Ready?
Yep.
We start with just water and flour. All right. If you are also using sugar and olive oil, you can put all 4 of those things in. We do not put all of the water in at the beginning.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, you did not add the sugar and some olive oil because you were cooking in your wood-fired oven, correct?
I did not add the sugar. I did do the olive oil, and I did use sourdough starter.
Good. So you would put the sourdough starter in as well.
Yeah.
We mixed for about 5 minutes. Then we chatted for about 10 or 15. That was called our auto lease.
And remember, the yeast and the salt, they were on vacation.
They were on vacation.
By the microwave. So you just said we put the yeast in there. The yeast does not go in. Remember, it's incorporato before the fermentato. You got to get that incorporation before the fermentation. Incorporato before the fermentato.
Good. Then you never put yeast in before the auto lease. You sometimes put pre-ferments in, for example, levain, but mostly not the other pre-ferments. Pouliche, yes. Pat fermenté, no. Depending on the biga, yes or no. Then, this is the 60-second version. We mix for another 2-3 minutes. Salt in, rest. Continue. I think we did maybe one more mix, rest. Then we transfer to another container and we began doing stretch and folds.
Right.
All right. The stretch and folds generally last anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Okay. In a short mix, which is a hand mix, you're generally talking about 4 to 6 stretch and folds over the course of 2 hours. That's the norm. Now, some people are mixing with a half batch, right? So you're talking about maybe 800 grams of dough. It's real easy to overmix that dough. So what I was trying to teach people is don't mix so much. Just mix for a minute or two and let the time do the work, right? So I ended up doing maybe 3 stretch and folds total. And then I put the dough into the refrigerator overnight and I balled it the next day. That's basically it.
Perfect. Now, our stretch and folds, those were tacos, right?
You know what? The stretch and folds are a little different than tacos. So imagine that you've got 4 sides of a rectangle and you fold them in on each other. First opposite sides, then other opposite sides, then what do you call that, Justin? When you turn it over?
Flippity flop. The flippity flop. So
you won't find that in any baking
imagine
books.
It's like this. It's like this side, then this side, then that side, then that side, right? All at about 2/3 over. You're not going all the way over, about 2/3 over, and then you flippity flop. So where you fold it becomes the bottom, and then you let it be. Remember what Paul McCartney said? You do a stretch and fold, and then you let it be.
He did not say that.
He did. It's on the White Pizza album.
If you play it backwards, Justin.
That's right. That's right. Paul bakes pizza.
Stephen, what else can we help you with?
Okay, my next question is the other night I used Central Milling 85.
Type 85, very good.
Type 85, so it was whole wheat. I
wouldn't call it whole wheat. I would call it sifted whole wheat. Traditionally, whole wheat is going to be what we call hundo, 100% whole wheat unsifted.
Okay, and this was 85%?
85%, yeah.
Okay.
Different people categorize it different ways.
Okay.
In Italy, they may call that a type 2 flour, right?
Okay. I found it to be a little weedy, so
it's very weedy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's if you're using. Usually, I use about 8% wheat in my dough.
Okay.
Tell me what you would like your pizza to taste like if not weedy, Steve.
Well, I had made a pizza with Central Milling 00 organic and 25% of the type 85. So I'm thinking about this time upping it to 50-50.
All right, here's what I would tell you. If you are not using a sourdough, you're just using a yeasted pizza, I wouldn't go higher than 10 or 15% type 85 or 100% whole wheat. That's the most I would go. If you're going to use a levain, in my experience, I like to mix different grades of whole wheat. So like a type 65, a 70, 85, maybe a little bit of 100% whole wheat. But really that wheat flavor needs a lot of levain to cut it, right? Because it's bitter, it's weedy, it makes a dense pizza sometimes, and so you really need a lot of levain. I did not last year at the Pizza Expo because it was canceled, but 2 years ago, I did a 50% whole wheat pizza with 40% levain and 100% hydration, and nobody knew there was a ton of whole wheat in it. But you have to go to extremes to make that whole wheat palatable for people, because most people think that whole wheat is for like healthy whole wheat bread. They don't want it in their pizza. So I don't want to say you have to trick them, but you really got to dial in your levain and your hydration. And also, not all wheat flours are created equal, right? So what I know about that type 85 from Central Milling is that it's got some gusto to it. Yeah. So Justin and I, we like to use, Justin, what kind of whole wheat flour you like to use?
I'm using type 1.
What were we using at Hotel Irwin that we liked so much? About 10%?
Yeah.
Remember what that was called? One of those heirloom wheats? We'll come back to you.
What were we using out there?
I'm not going to tell you. So there's a lot of beautiful heirloom wheats out there. You know what? Stephen, have you seen this Tartine book number 3?
I have seen Tartine book number 1.
You should see number 3. Because if you're interested in cooking with whole grains, you're going to love this book, because they have all of these beautiful recipes that use different whole grains, and all of them are a little bit different. And so what I love that they do in this book is they go through each of the more popular grains. So like, for instance, they start with emmer, then they go to spelt, then they go to eichhorn. Justin, does spelt ring a bell?
I do. I think I put 10% spelt in mine.
They go through kamut. They go through semolina. They go through
I use
rye.
semolina. I use rye.
They go through barley. They go through buckwheat. They go through cracked corn, oats, brown rice, millet, amaranth, so many beautiful ancient grains, some people call them.
Yeah.
And so what I would say is that if you have a flavor for the richness that you get, maybe even the nutritional value that you get, you want to, what I would do is like, are you into scotch?
No.
If you were and you went into a
Start
bar, if bars were
drinking,
open,
Steven.
you wouldn't
Jeez.
just order a scotch, you'd call your scotch, right? Because everybody likes a different amount of peatiness or cat pee or whatever you're looking for in your scotch, right?
Cat pee.
Oak, yeah, that's more in like Sauvignon Blanc. Justin, we got to go out drinking one day.
You know,
One day when the bar's open, I'm going to introduce you to cat pee.
I like Coors Lights.
No. I'm talking about Sauvignon Blanc.
Very good.
Cat pee. That's one of the things. So, Stephen, all kidding aside, if you like the flavor of whole wheat, one of those things that you're going to want to do is figure out which wheats that you really like the most. Okay. Some of those wheats that you buy, I don't like the King Arthur whole wheat. You know, I love King Arthur flour. It's very bitter. And it's a good performance flour, so I'll use it maybe 10%. But I like the sweetness, and I like the nuttiness, and I like the color and the aroma of some of the other more historic.
I like my dough to have little brown dots throughout it, and it's crazy. And that's the brand. I mean, that's what it is. You know, I love that. Yeah. You know, I use a type 1 and a rye that give me a little bit of that nuttiness, but the total of those two is only 10% of my total dough.
Oh, Stephen, you know what you should do? Have you heard of Cairn Springs Mill? Cairn Spring Mills? Have you ordered anything from Kevin before?
No.
He's awesome.
You should check it out. They just you know what they started doing? They started selling stuff in 1 kilo bags. And they're offering deals too. So I would order some Skagit. I would order some espresso. I would order some order a kilo of each and see what you like. They're really beautiful.
But don't be afraid. I mean, if you're doing your wood fire stuff, I mean, I would keep most of it performance 00. Is that correct?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. You know, it depends a lot. If you like wood fired cooking, you should come on when we have the advanced class with Daniele Uditi. You should come on when we have the advanced class with Dan from Rotza in Jersey City. So these are guys who I mean, they have love-hate relationships with 00 flour because 00 flour is the undisputed king of Neapolitan pizza. But if you go back maybe 90 years or 100 years, there was Neapolitan pizza, but there was no 00 flour. Right? Okay. So I know that there is this thing called APN and VPN, and these are all very important associations, right? They teach people to live by certain standards, and some people need that. But it's got its strengths and it's got its weaknesses. And so, you know, some people will say that if you want to make cookies, you have to use all-purpose. Don't ever use bread flour. Some people will say if you want to make New York pizza, you have to use high-gluten flour. Don't ever use all-purpose flour. It's 2020. I don't go by that anymore, you know?
Bente, I like to say.
Bente.
All right. Thank you, guys. It's been great, and I will definitely sign up for one of those classes.
Come to the intermediate. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Last question is low moisture mozzarella.
Oh,
we
don't get me started.
Buy it like shredded. Is there a source for a good low moisture mozzarella that's a little higher quality than what I'm going to find in a bag?
You're in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
What part of Los Angeles?
Palos Verdes area.
So you're far. You know what you got to.
But I travel a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so Surface Restaurant Supply was one of two places. There's another place in the West Valley. I don't know what it's called. That's selling like 1 and 2 pound blocks grande mozzarella. So I would call Surface SURFAS in Arlington Heights. Huh? You know what you could even do? Call Grande Mozzarella. They're in Wisconsin and say, hey, who's selling it? Wholesale, retail.
Yeah. And it's
one of the best.
And what we like to do is we like to do half and half. They're part skim and they're whole milk. And then we do a mix. We do a blend. But, you know, if you're cooking super high temps, Noel, any thoughts on? I mean, what's great about the whole milk is it doesn't have a tendency to burn as easily as the part skim.
Yeah. You could probably get some shredded. I'll bet you could order some. You have a big refrigerator?
Yeah.
Well, just shoot us over your address and we'll come over and party.
Here's what I noticed. So I think Adam Kuban the other day said he was freezing his mozzarella, wasn't he?
He did. He said he was getting the blends or what is it called?
They have the East Coast blend. So
East Coast blend.
Normally I would never say freeze your cheese, Stephen, but you can actually freeze the grande cheese. So if you had to order a case, right, and you have a big enough freezer, it would make it worth your while because the grande cheese is really good. I'm not a fan of pre-shredded, but they don't put any anti-caking agents in as far as I know. So for me, it's the undisputed king of, low moisture mozzarella. And so that's what I would go for.
Okay. And just to jump on here, I've been ordering the Galbani from Smart and Final because that's what I've been able. I'm in a similar boat, but to taste the Galbani next to the Grande, it's just miles apart. It's just miles apart as far as quality. So
if you
and nothing against Galbani. I mean, I've been using that cheese a bunch. So I mean, but.
Stephen, in the future, I'm opening a pizzeria in Orange County, hopefully within the next 6 months, and it's also going to be a little market. So they're going to be selling grande mozzarella in like retail. So I know it's a long time. It would have been open already if it wasn't COVID. So keep an eye on my Instagram. What?
Where in Orange County?
I can't say.
All right.
I have to sign a lot of non-disclosure agreements. I'm like my whole family. They're all shrinks and attorneys.
Steve, he won't tell me. So don't. And he's just
listen. You always forget to ask.
Yeah, I don't really care.
I keep secrets for a living. Nice to see you again, Stephen.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Tell your wife thanks for putting up with us. All right. Dave Caps. Should we just, it's now 6:30. Should we just bring some people on?
Bring people on. Let's have a chat. We don't need to.
Yeah, I'm going to bring, and Kay Beasy, your friend and mine, Kelly Bone.
Let's bring Kelly on.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Kelly on. Kelly was saying that, of course, she makes with her sourdough discard. King Arthur's got some good recipes. Usually makes just a bunch of crumpets. She says it's a super simple recipe, and you just freeze them. So there she is, Kelly Bone. Come on down. Your friend, my friend, Queen, ruler, the queen who reigned of the vegan pies. 2 classes now with Kelly Bone. Vegan pie is not vegetable pie, and almond, choose your adventure. Almond.
Kelly Bone.
Kelly Bone. Hey, Kelly.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loud and clear. What's happening?
I'm in a different setup right now.
You look great. Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Great class the other day. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, since someone was asking about what to do with this discards, because I always have a lot of discards, and I find just making a bunch of crumpets, you just get the 4-inch rings, and it's really just like a baking soda, sugar, batter. Yeah. And it fluffs up right away, and you put it on the grill, and they freeze great, and I just take them out and eat them for breakfast.
Where can we get a recipe?
She put something in the link. It's from King Arthur.
Yeah, so King Arthur, they have a page of discard recipes, and for the most part, I found them to be pretty good.
Kelly Bone. All right. We'll take your word for it.
K Beasy coming through. Guys, I'm promoting just panelists over. Just if you guys want to turn your camera on, it's all gravy. This is what we do kind of as we got about a half an hour left. So just so you know, and don't feel like you have to jump on if you're not feeling it. Like I said, not wearing any pants. We're not trying to invade your home, but this is, we're, a bunch of pizza geeks and dough dorks. So if you want to talk shop, feel free. If not, we understand. Maria. Oh gosh, here we come. Now I'm in trouble.
Maria's coming on.
Yeah, we got coming to my math nemesis. You said you were going to go get your thing.
All right.
So,
let me go get my notes from Sunday.
What's up, Joe? How's it going? Yeah. So, all right. So Maria, we had Dave. What's up, Drew? So if anybody was not in the class that we took, and Maria, what's up, Benny? Did you call KitchenAid? Hopefully you got that on. Not yet. Oh, ship. So Maria, would you mind unmuting so we can talk about because I got in trouble because I kept asking questions during this class and I didn't know never mind. I totally knew what was going on. So Maria, let's Noel's going to get his number sheet, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what was going on, what you were confused about. Yeah.
Well, my first question is, why would I want to do that? Like, if I wanted a recipe with the biga, why wouldn't I just find the recipe? Like, what was the point of that exercise? Because I got the impression he was like, if you want to add a biga to a recipe, you have to calculate the flour.
No, bud, you're on mute, please. Unmute.
Okay,
Yes.
so good question, Maria. Good question.
You know,
Right,
so that's, and then I kind of like, I got it, and then I didn't get it.
No, I think I see the issue. So here's what he was trying to say. Different recipes have different amounts of biga, right? And so the idea is if you're going to adjust the percentage of biga, right? 50%, 40%, 30%, 10%, right? You have to look at the final formula to make sure that the hydration is still the same, that the salt level is still the same, that the yeast level, if it's not the same, that it's at least appropriate for the difference in fermentation schedule. And so it's one of the difficult things about the advanced classes is that you have the biga or the pre-ferment formula, then you have the secondary formula, which when combined with the pre-ferment nets you the third formula, which is the total formula or the final formula, right? And so one of the things that people do is they'll change the pre-ferment. They'll put a little more or a little less, but they won't adjust the hydration or the salt or even the malt to make up for it. And so I think that's the point he was trying to make.
Okay. Because I thought he was saying like, okay, you have a basic recipe, but you want to add a biga, and then you have to recalculate. And I understood that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, but then I was like, why wouldn't you just find the recipe with the biga? You know.
Well, you know what? So here's the thing. When you are a professional baker like that guy, he's like 36 years old with 30 years of experience. He doesn't find a recipe. That's not what he does. He makes it up. He already knows all the recipes. And so when someone says to him, I think he used this as a result, as an example, hey, we're bringing in the 50 people for dinner tonight. We need ciabatta. He's going to be like, all right, well, I don't have any biga made, so let me do a 2-hour pouliche, and we'll figure out how to make it work with a ton of 2-hour pouliche, change the recipe around so the salt is right and the hydration is correct, so that by 6 o'clock, when the party of 50 sits down for dinner, they all have the same great ciabatta or Genovese style focaccia that they expect with a biga and 2 days of fermentation.
Okay. Because, you know, it was a little late at night for me.
It was late, and who could understand half of what he was saying? These Genovese guys.
And then I went back to my notes. I'm like, why? I just was going in a circle with it.
No. It's so confusing. Justin was in a headspin for 2 weeks after the first class.
Yeah.
He was like muttering. His wife called me. She's like, I don't know what's up with Justin. Maybe he shouldn't do the advanced classes anymore.
Okay.
He's muttering in Italian.
Yes.
Good question.
Ciao, right? Ciao.
Exactly.
Ciao.
Okay. I'll do that.
Anything else, Maria?
See, I told you.
I think that's all for now.
Were you in the bar pie class as well?
Oh my God, it was so good.
Did you make any?
I didn't. I watched.
You got it.
I like to watch so I can take my notes. But I grew up down at the Jersey Shore, one of the places he talked about, and I was like, oh, totally. Like I'm gonna make it.
So I'm glad you were there. And hey, Benny, would you jump on here for a second? Because I know when we were joking on Sunday that I was saying lucky duck eating pizza for breakfast, and you're like, I'm eating yesterday's bar pie. So I actually made dough yesterday. I made dough Saturday after class, and then I'm actually going to make tonight. That's been sitting out for 4 hours. So how did it? What was your schedule there? Like, you balled it and then put it in the pan.
So with the dough that we made in class, the dough we made in class, I just like right when we were finished mixing, I put right into the fridge for 24 hours. And then when I took it out, waited about an hour and a half, balled it, and then waited like maybe 3 or 4 hours, and then just rolled it out. And I actually didn't I only had one circle pan. So I actually did like did it in just like a square Lloyd's pan, or like a rectangle, and it just worked just as good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to cook some after I get off here. It's not started on the stone. It's baked on the rack, and then you finished on the stone.
But I will tell you, I did not listen to him because I found that if I bake it on the stone and then finish it on the stone, I just liked I like a really crispy.
I'm there with you. Yeah.
So I just baked it on the stone and then finished it on the stone. And the pies were like really tasty.
Yeah, that looks great.
I mean, they look
That's the traditional way to do it. All those guys, they bake on the hearth and then finish on the hearth.
I mean, so my little cheat with that is like, so, I love pizza, and my wife won't let me eat like pizza that I make all the time. So what I always do is I just make a tortilla pizza. I just take a flour tortilla and make pizza on that because I love it. And, you put in a little pan, you edge that rim. It's something in the same. I'm excited to try it tonight, but I was thinking, hey, those look a lot like my tortilla pizzas when I'm burning cheese around the edge. So no shame in that game. Let's say a little tortilla pizza, that's on the bar menu. You can have a tortilla pizza any time of the day. So
I think that's why I killed my mixers, because I did like 2 of Adam's mixes and then 2 of Stefano's. It was just like,
which are both
hard flour. And then
not only that, but low. I mean, harder flour, but also like 55% hydration on a focaccia. To me, I was like, what? Like that was. But then what I thought was so interesting is that then you add basically a brine on top of it. And I asked Noel about this. I said, well, that was very interesting to me. And he said, one of the things that it might have been was because traditionally, it wasn't a very wealthy region. So they would like pretty much use brine or salt water and add it to the olive oil to make it go a little bit further. It's very, very interesting. I just that blew my mind, so. But hey, Benny, did you have any luck letting that relax a little bit more, or was it still snapping back?
The focaccia. So I just baked off, and I obviously have taken a lot of your classes, and I don't eat all that pizza. So I just wrap a bunch of it up and I give it to like all the homeless in my area. So I have just, I actually just wrapped up, but the focaccia I made today actually came out better. And I think it's because I just like, I let it, after I like poked hole, after I like, as Stefano said, like let it find the edges. I poked holes and let it sit for like hours. And so I actually forgot about it until class, and it had probably been sitting for like 6 hours with the brine on it. And I just baked it off, and it's like 10 times better than the first batch. So but it's just like sitting room temp for
But that's what he said. He said
he did. Yeah, I know
rush.
I know he did, but it's like
he wasn't kidding. It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
Benjamin, did you take Chester's class where we did like the Nona style?
I took both of his, and I actually feel like I've gotten really good at his method. I've probably now done that mix like 6 or 7 times. And like, I think you guys talk about it all the time, but it's funny when you're just like stuck in a pandemic at home and like baking pounds of flour.
Yeah.
Like you really got to figure out like the Pete's equation. And like I bought like for $20, you can get on Amazon. It gives you temp but humidity of your room much better than the ThermoPen.
Yeah.
So I like set it up in like my bedroom, my kitchen, my living room, my dining room, and have just like found the different temps. And so for his, I'm like, okay, I know I need, like when I take it out, I want to warm it up to roll it. I'm going to leave it here. And then for 3 hours of rising. But his, I finally feel like I've got like making like really good focaccia that people are enjoying.
Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of the Katie Parlow with the with a little bit of potato in it. I'm addicted to that, which is I'm
So
loving
good.
it.
So good.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving we made a bunch of that, and that's how I made my stuffing, and it was
You guys, if you
delicious.
ever get a chance, so when I do that recipe, I buy potato flour. And so I can often find it at health food stores because I don't know why people at health food store likes that stuff. It's awesome to have on hand. It gives you, even for like a New York pizza, you can put like 5% in. It gives you a beautiful color. It gives you a nice sweetness. It gives you a amazing aroma. So potato flour is a good thing to have on hand if you don't want to boil the potatoes and rice them.
Also, it's really nice for frying chicken. I'm just saying.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It makes a very nice, almost like tempura-y.
I like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's it's good if you're trying to make weight for the fight too. So always trying to make weight, always trying to make weight for the fight. So
Got it.
all right. So here we go. All right, Andrew, you want to Andrew, I know that you have a bunch of questions here that we didn't get to answer. So would you unmute, my friend?
Yes.
Andrew, hello. I hear we're coming over to your house too. Not only Stevens, we're coming over.
Feel free.
There we go. What's up, dog?
So I'm on the Surface website. Just my question. One question is because Noel, you had said get the hard aged mozzarella, and this is Belfiore cheese, traditional mozzarella, cultured, semi-soft, shortly aged. Is that
you can try that one? Yeah, that means they don't have the grande right now because they make you buy it in 70-pound boxes, and so probably there's not as much call for it as there was when I was doing pizza classes there.
So I'm really looking for
try the Belfiore. Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, but I'm really looking for grande as the optimal one. And would it say hard aged or
here's the thing, it doesn't say anything. We know It's not hard, it's just not as soft as fresh, and it's aged, but they don't really call it that. It's just not fresh.
Gotcha.
So they'll call it whole milk, or they'll call it part skim, and they'll call it low moisture. Those are the three terms they use for it.
Okay. And then the other thing I was going to ask is, I was obsessing about the sauce, and so is there a place? I assume you guys will cover it at some point, but is there something just as sort of while I'm not before I get to the intermediate class? Mm-hmm. Is there some recipe or something, some guiding? Because I was looking at some people were talking about reducing your sauce so it's thicker and stuff like that.
Andrew, I almost don't want to tell you this, but have you been on pizzamaking.com yet?
I have not.
All right. Write this down. pizzamaking.com. You can either thank me later or not, but everything that you want is there. Every style of pizza, every sauce that's ever been thought of, every sauce that's never been thought of. Everybody posts recipes and pictures, and it's a great site for sharing. And you are at the perfect point in your pizza career because you're a sponge.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're the kind of person that maybe needs to cycle through 10 or 20 recipes visually, and then you got to maybe make them and try 5 or 10, and then kind of go back and go for more.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. A lot of the old school New York places maybe put a little bit of oregano in, right? They maybe a little bit of sugar. They probably weren't. I mean, in the old days, they might have used a little bit of olive oil, maybe some salt. It's not a sauce, and it's definitely not reduced. That's more of a pasta thing, or at some mom and pop shops in the Midwest. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I've like when I was in Pennsylvania, which I guess is not the Midwest, but it has a very Midwest pizza feel. They were all using cooked sauce on their pizza.
Let me just say, Chris Huppert, thanks, Chris. He just said Vern's Cheese. They sell grande mozzarella in the 5-pound bags.
Yes, where?
So that's
where
really
is
good.
Vern's cheese?
I don't know. I'm just looking at it right now. Vern's Cheese right here. I'm going to put it in there. Thank you, Chris. Chris, wherever you may be, we don't see you, but we appreciate. This is what I'm talking about. This is the pizza community.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. This is what it's like. Let's help each other. So they've got shreds. It looks like. I mean, they got a 6-pound thing. It's $40, but like Adam Kuban said, that you can, while we're at home, while we're dealing with this stuff for the next, hopefully, less than 6 months,
Absolutely.
Hey, cheese, cheese, more cheese, please, as far as I'm
Justin, get
concerned.
on that.
I know, right?
I see it right here. So they got the Grande diced East Coast mozzarella cheese blend, 5 pounds for $28. They've got that. They've also got the mozzarella and provolone. That's a good one.
Oh, their provolone, they do a little smoked provolone that really adds something special to it.
Wait, Justin, look. They have, this is what you guys want. They have the Grande part skim mozzarella cheese loaf. That's the one. It's 6 pounds for $38.45.
And then they've got the whole milk
too.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's $40 for a log of cheese.
It'll last for 6 years.
Not in this household.
Well, Justin, you need 2 logs.
Yeah, you're darn right I do. My wife is about to leave me, but at least I'll have my cheese.
We're just finding this out now. Justin, we need to put this in every chat and every pizza
I know.
class we ever do again.
And Chris Huppert doesn't even want to show his face. But we appreciate it, Chris.
Wow. That was a fine. Thank you, Chris.
There he is. Chris, thank you, bud. Wait, can you jump on? Can you unmute and tell us about this site?
Chris, you're our new pizza hero. What's going on?
She's Louise.
Just a rookie getting started, but Google searches are amazing. So just a simple Google search and looked at it, and there you go.
There you go.
You're hired. You're hired.
They do charge $9 to sell. I'm down in Florida, and they do charge $9 to put it in a insulated cooler bag and $15 shipping.
Guys,
so now you're talking $60 or whatever. But hey, if that's the cheese you guys recommend, we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. So I opened up a New York style pizzeria here in LA, and I told the guys we were working on it for 9 months, don't call it New York. You're going to get these guys coming in from Queens and Long Island saying, I'm from New York. This isn't New York pizza, right? So this guy comes in like second night. I'm like, oh no, I can see him coming for a mile away. Long Island guy, right? He looked like Tony Soprano. He got up from dinner and came over, and he was like, I just want to let you guys know that this hits that button for me of New York pizza, right? And he said, what kind of cheese do you use? We said, Grande mozzarella, and we sold him a hunk right there. He was so happy because whatever pizzeria he grew up with, they used Grande, and it just hit a button for him. So I was relieved because you don't want to mess with those guys. They know more about pizza than I'll ever know, So Grande, guys, give it a try. I know it's going to break the bank. The shipping is a bitch, and it'll feel like it'll take forever. But I leave that stuff in the coldest part of my fridge, and it lasts for 3-4 months, no problem.
Cool.
Just wrap it tight in saran. Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah. Wrap it tight in saran. Keep everything exposed. Couple rubber bands around it. And just get one of those cheese slicers and just slice a couple things off the top.
You guys, while we're at it, this is a good one. So I used to go to a place on the Upper West Side of New York. I think the original location was like 106, and they moved down, then they moved back up, called Salad Carmine's. The last summer I was in New York, they got closed down by the health department, right? Now, you would say that's a bad thing, right? But let me tell you one of the things they were doing that got them closed down. So the Italians that ran this place, literally Sal and his brothers, Carmine, they liked Grande mozzarella, but to them it didn't taste like cheese. It tastes like something that came out of a factory. They were from Italy. They used to make cheese. So here's what they would do. At the end of every shift, they would take cheese and leave it out overnight. They wanted it to ferment. All right. And then the next morning, they would put it back in the refrigerator till it got cold, and then they would grate it. And the difference between the cheese that came off the truck and the cheese that was left out overnight and then put back in the refrigerated, to them, it had that sharpness, right, of real cheese. And so that's illegal and possibly even dangerous to do. And so that's why they were shut down. But here's what I figured out. So when I work at pizzerias and I want that beautiful sharp flavor from a factory cheese, we buy a lot of cheese and we rotate it. And so you can literally keep that cheese for 2, 3, 4 months at a nice low temperature under 40 degrees. And you'll see it'll start to develop holes in it like Swiss cheese, right? And the flavor profile is delicious. When it comes off the truck, it tastes like a factory cheese, but it actually develops as it gets older, and that's just fermentation, right? You can accomplish something. You can leave a piece of cheese out at 60 degrees, or you can leave that cheese at 36 degrees for 2 months, and you get to almost the same point. So anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is like, don't open up that cheese and expect it to taste like a miracle in a bag when you first get it. You got to age it a little bit. All right. That's my pro tip for you guys. Justin?
Yeah, let's bring Dave on. Dave's got a question. Dave Kaplan, would you unmute? And this is about sourdough. Keeping sourdough at cooler temps, like in a beverage fridge. Aaron Vesco also has some. What we recommend is maybe like maybe one of those wine fridges. Like Aaron, you bought one of those wine fridges, right? Yeah. So in a wine, what does that do to flavor? You say you like the milky yogurt flavor, the sourdough that you're using, and he's currently at 68 to 72 degrees, 2 times a day, 1:2 ratio, very small amount. Diggs, you want to anything else you want me to clarify?
No, I think that's it. And I wondered if the cooler temperature had more acidity, if it was going to be more vinegary. And I actually tried it. I started to do it, and the bubbles are really small, and I just wasn't sure, should I be going like 24 hours? If I was doing, twice a day, am I going to go every other day? And I was really curious. You mentioned it, Noel, one time in the intermediate class. Mm-hmm. How it affected flavor.
Yeah, so I find that the warmer temperatures will give you more acidity, and it's easier to lose control. And the cooler temperatures give you more lactic acid, more of a sweet and floral aroma. But the thing for me is that I don't like the extremes of temperature for sourdough. I like the mid-range. I've got a series of books up there called Modernist Bread, and they do a pretty deep dive into sourdough. And they say the same thing that I found, which is that the sweet spot is really 50 to 60 degrees. And so, when we had our class on Sunday, we were talking with Stefano, and he said the problem with those higher temperatures is that you have a smaller window of opportunity, right? And he was talking about the pouliche. It rises, and right when it falls, that's when you want to use it. But with sourdough, it really depends on the hydration of your sourdough. And so a lot of old schools types, they like to use a low hydration sourdough because it has a longer window of opportunity. But the trade-off is that it can be more acidic depending on what temperature you store it at. So you can. One of the things that chefs that I know try to do is balance the acidity and the lactic acid, and that's a real hard thing to do. I know chefs that keep their sourdough warm for part of the day and cold at night. And actually, that's a pretty good balancing act. And so we're going to be doing a lot of work with sourdough in the coming months. But one of the best techniques that I've seen, I didn't come up with it, I wouldn't even recommend it. But if you're a chef and you're running your own bread program and you can keep an eye on stuff, one of the best things I've seen is basically you feed your sourdough in the morning when you get there. And let's say 2-3 hours later, it's ready. Then you feed it again, and usually, it'll be a big, let's say it's a 22-quart Cambro. You'll feed it, and you'll start it out at, let's say, 12 quarts, right? When that thing rises, let's say 50 or 60%, let's say to 18 quarts, then it goes in the refrigerator. And so you're front loading the fermentation, and that means that it's going to continue to ferment, but it's not going to over ferment at 40 degrees. When you get there in the morning, you've got a fully fermented sourdough that just needs to be refreshed, and it's ready to go at like 20 or 30 in probably 2 or 3 hours. That right there, again, I didn't come up with it, but a lot of the chefs that I've taught another way to do it have come up with that way just because it works really well, and they get a really beautiful balance of sweetness and acidity that they're looking for. So you might want to try that out.
Combine those two together?
Yeah, they combine them together. It's just like, what's that?
I heard something described as like second stage or 2-stage. Is that what that is?
Well, so basically it's 2 stages. So what you do is your first feed after you mix the dough, you do like 2 parts water, 2 parts flour, 1 part starter, right? And you can leave that out for a pretty long time, right? Let's say 6-8 hours, and then that goes into the fridge. Then in the morning when you get there, you do equal parts flour and water and starter, and that's your second feed, and then you get something really beautiful.
All right, I got to try that. So 1 to 2 to 2, and then combined with a 1 to 1 to 1 the next day.
Now you'll get other people, like especially Italians, who do not like acidity, and they'll go 3 feeds. Right. So we were talking to Stefano on Sunday, and he said when he is doing certain recipes, he'll go 3 feeds real fast, one after another.
Because they don't like the acidity, but it seems like you really do like the acidity, and that's something that you're looking for, right, Dave?
Well, I actually like the milkier, less acidic. I want the kind of buttery, yogurty, milky flavor. I don't want to. I like to give it to people, and they go, "This is sourdough," and I say, "Yeah, sourdough isn't sour."
I know.
I know. Got a lot of depth.
So you're doing equal parts flour and water.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's 100%.
That's a big thing too. You can even go higher. You can go 125% hydration on that sourdough, and you might even get more of what you're looking for.
Okay. I got to try that.
Yeah.
I'm going to feed soon. Let's see. There he is. There they are.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very nice.
Burping and farting, you know the deal.
Here's another thing. How are you covering that?
Just loosely with a glass.
Perfect.
I got a little wet jar with a glass lid, and I put it in the cabinet where I have all the flour.
Perfect.
And I just kind of have a little pattern. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Let me just say one more thing. So like the idea, what I want to, I don't want people to follow my rules blindly, but what I'm trying to do is teach people rules that are already established, right? I'm not making them up. If I'm making them up, I'll tell you. If Justin's making up a word, he'll tell you. But we want you to learn, the way that the French and the Spanish and the Italians, for instance, have been doing it for generations. Learn that, see what you like about each style, right? And then figure it out for yourself. But a lot of people go the opposite way, It's if you're a genius, if you're Mozart, if you're Thelonious Monk, if you're Julia Childs, fine. But if you're like most of us and you do your learning the hard way, then I find that you got to learn the rules before you break them.
Yeah. I'm keeping a lot of notes too.
Keep a lot of notes.
That's what we say. Write it down, because if you make the best pizza you've ever made, you're going to want to figure out how you did it, because a recipe does not a pizza make. You've heard me say it a number of times. All right. Scotty is saying 70% Neapolitan hydration, sourdough starter. He wants to know the dough temp for stretching. Is there a dough temp? Have you ever temped your balls before you start stretching?
All right. So at 70% hydration, you can actually stretch at a very low temperature, and you can get a really nice pizza. So I worked for a chef here in LA who insisted on keeping his dough under 40 degrees right next to the wood-fired oven. And he thought that it would be most consistent that way instead of leaving it out. And to a degree, he was right. But also try pulling out dough that's 35 degrees and stretching it. It can be really hard. So if you dial up your hydration, depending on the flour you're using, to 70%, you should be able to stretch at a very low temperature without a problem. You're going to get a very different result than if you let it go to 60 or 70 or 80. So it really depends on you. I would normally say I don't like to stretch dough under 55 or 60. I like it to be relaxed. I like it to be well fermented. But that's just me. A lot of people like to work with young dough. A lot of those Neapolitan guys, they're working with really young dough, and they love it. It's super extensible. It's not too sticky. They can throw it in the air, roll it over their heads. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I know a lot of the New York guys that do all those tricks with the dough, they like a really cold dough with a lot of salt and super low hydration. So it depends how you like to play with your dough. But for flavor, I think warmer temperatures work well. Also, do you like those? Do you like a bubbly kind of wild looking cornicione? Because if you do, again, closer to 70 or 80 degrees is where it's at.
Yeah, I like a wild cornicione.
I can tell that about you, Justin.
That's kind of the way I live. That's the way I live. So John Hughes, who has not been here with us before, he says, hey guys, he says he's interested in attending the intermediate track soon. He's yet to take a class, but he recently started utilizing freshly milled organic flours. All right.
Good.
Freshly milled. Okay. I find that I think that I'm over mixing, he says, at 80% and even 70% hydrato, batches look like they built gluten strength for a bit and in a stand mixer. John Hughes, there you are. I'm going to continue reading this out. I can't hear you. Hold on just a second. But in a stand mixer, but it lost it all and ended up turning into soup. Need to listen to the dough. I would recommend. Come back on, Johnny. I didn't mean to say. I need to listen to the dough. Hypermix it too long, perhaps, or flour not oxidized. It was milled 3 weeks ago. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Maybe you can unmute John and give it a try verbally.
Johnny, come on down. Are you there, my friend?
He's there. He's gone. He's there. He's gone. Come on back, John.
You know, it's not me. But I guess that's Zoom, the question. Yeah, I know.
I don't know
right?
what the question is. You just read a treatise.
It's a treatise.
Series of statements and questions.
Yeah.
I would like to answer it. I just need to know where the questions are.
Yeah, where to go. Okay, so
we'll come back to John. To John.
Well, then the only last question is there he is, Johnny.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Sorry about that, Justin. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there, and I guess it probably went back to what I got from what you guys gleaned with giving some rest, but I kind of interpreted higher hydration doughs and some of the process that I've heard you doing with like the higher mixing, Noel, to get that gluten strength up. And I'm just wondering, with the new flours, I'm starting to read things about like fresher milled flours not being oxidized and not being able to have like the gluten strength initially. And wondering if a younger milled flour, if that would be something, or you think I just blew through it and didn't give it the rest it probably deserved.
Well, so there's so much. There's a lot going on there. So number one, like my experience with freshly milled flour is that it behaves one way when it's super fresh, and then there seems to be a period where it goes like in flux. Maybe after about a week and up to maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it changes and it's different than it was before, but then it's consistent for the rest of its life. And so what I would do is I would date my flours and if they're super fresh, maybe they have a mill date on them. And so just kind of keep an eye on that, because I've had terrible luck trying to get consistent results from freshly milled flours, and I've used a lot of them, and they all kind of react differently. So I know Chad Robertson said you want to use them super fresh, and then Chris Bianco told me after they're super fresh, you might want to wait for 2 weeks and then try it again. And so that has actually worked pretty well for me.
Weren't we saying yesterday that like some of there's a lot more hydration in the super freshly milled flours too?
Well, so that's a good point too, Justin. Thank you for that. Okay. So depending on every mill has a hydration that they try to bring their flour out at. So the average is about 14 or 15% hydration. So I didn't know that flour had hydration. I thought flour was flour and water had hydration. So depending on where your flour is stored, like I live in Santa Monica, it's pretty humid here. Right. So it's possible that in a humid part of the summer, the hydration of my flour can go from 14% to 22%.
Right.
And it's possible that same flour goes into a warehouse, right, with dehydrators or whatever they call those things, dehumidifiers in the cold storage. You can go down to 8%. So the hydration of your freshly milled flour is another thing. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people doing a lot of milling that maybe aren't very consistent with their hydration. Maybe they don't have the tools to measure it. So one of the things you can do with freshly milled flour is establish a benchmark. So let's say, do you use pre-ferments?
So it's all sourdough. Yeah.
Okay. So here's one of the things I would try to do. Instead of using 100% sourdough, here's one of the tricks I like, or techniques. Use a 60% hydration sourdough and mix up just a tiny little batch of it, right? Maybe, I don't know what percentage you use, but let's say if you're using a kilo of flour and you're doing 20% sourdough, then do, let's say 200 grams of sourdough at 60% hydration, and you should be able to tell the relative hydration of the flower by how that 60 grams of water and 100 grams of flour, or whatever the ratio is, it should mix together the same every time. And if you notice something different, that'll tell you that the hydration of the flour is off.
Interesting. I appreciate that insight, because that's something I definitely think could contribute to, because I'm finding a lot more soupiness with hydrations that I would normally be able to, with a conventional flour, get.
Yeah. There's a guy named Jeff at King Arthur Flour, and he's one of the top sales guys. He's also like a world bread champion. He went to France when he was like 27. He was, for a day or a year, he was the best baker in the world, right? And so I was having the same problems you're having. And I was getting really mad. So somebody said, "Oh, let me introduce you to this guy. He knows everything." So I called him. I was kind of nervous, and he was super nice. But he was the guy that hit me to the idea that different flours have different hydrations. And I didn't really know how to read that stuff. You know, a lot of the stuff that's on the back of the bag, or if you go to the website, there's a lot of numbers, falling numbers. I didn't know what it meant. So unfortunately, when you're dealing with freshly milled flours, you kind of have to become an expert. And that could mean you learn to read the side of the bag, or you could even sometimes call the mill and be like, "Hey, I got a batch that's dated December 1st. Can you give me the stats on that flour?" At places like Central Milling, they actually keep the stats on every batch. And regardless of what it says on the outside of the bag, you can get the stats on that actual batch, which is weird. You wouldn't think that a mill would have flour that deviates from what the numbers are on the outside of the bag, but it's literally the norm.
That's interesting. That's good to know. No, it was through Lindley Mills, which I think, they're.
I don't know those guys.
No, they're in North Carolina, but
you should become friends with those guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, so I think I can give them a call, but.
Yeah.
And just anybody on the line that wants to know that, they do ship, they'll ship 50-pound bags direct to the residential. I mean, the shipping obviously is a little killer, but
Johnny, would you maybe put the link in the chat for anybody that's still on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
That'd be great.
Yeah, they're one of the few flour mills that I found that would sell direct to consumer for that large bulkage. I know, Central Milling does as well, but I'm on the East Coast, so cheaper shipping option was.
For sure.
I'll send that to you guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, John. Thanks for spending some QT with us. My friend, Noel's friend, Dr. Vesco, would you unmute, please? We're going to finish up with your
Vesco.
Vesico. How do you pronounce your last name? Vesco. Vesico.
It sounds like an H.
You know me.
Man?
How you doing? Quick question from yesterday, focaccia class. After second mix, this was on my first batch going into it. So I was a little bit blind. But again, I agree that I learned a lot doing it that way, even though it's tough at first. But my question is, recommended bulk fermentation time, before you go into like a bulk retard in the fridge. If I hit desired dough temperature, how long? Like 30 minutes?
At the most, because there's a lot of yeast in that recipe, just a ton. Okay. So here's what I would basically say. If you're gonna go to a next day dough, I would remove half the yeast from the recipe.
Okay.
And so then you can go a half hour or an hour, and you should be fine. But
because I went an hour, and it was insane.
It was insane. It blew up. Yeah. No, it blew up. So
now
that's crazy. Italians and their focaccia are nuts. Old ladies are nuts. Professional bakers are nuts. It's just too much yeast. I don't know what they're thinking, but it's tradition, and you don't change tradition. That's how it is in Italy. Okay, that's why you love Italy.
That's normal for me to be like, what the heck is going on?
No, that's normal. That's normal.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you, Aaron.
Just done. What it did?
Did we answer all the questions? Maria, did we answer all your questions?
Dave, good. Chris, thank you guys for hanging out. We answered 31
Kelly
questions.
Bone, John Hughes,
Kay Beasley,
Brian Joe, 2 first names. What about Suvir Sarna? Have we heard from Suvir?
I don't. No, we have not. Yeah, nothing in the chat.
Spying on us. That's okay.
It's okay. It's just peeping, just creeping.
He's in his jammies. He's in his jammies.
Just like doing double team, watching the Queen's Gambit. There he is.
Hi, Suvir.
Yeah. We can't hear you, but it's okay.
If you want to unmute, you want to say hello, we'd love to hear your actual voice.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
Where are you?
I am in Bali.
You're in Bali. What time is it there?
What's that?
What time is it?
It's about 11:15 in the morning.
How nice for you. I assume it's tomorrow there, or is it yesterday?
It is tomorrow.
How nice for you. What's going on? What brings you to our little Zoom session?
I'm learning how to make pizza from you guys.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Have you taken any of our classes?
I've taken 2 of them, yeah.
Which ones?
I've taken the intermediate and the advanced, and I skipped the beginner, which I'm going to take because I think I need to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, the beginner is you know what's so funny about the beginner? A lot of people skip it. And it's a good class to take. And I'm not just saying that because I'm selling classes, but you know, to be able to mix by hand and understand how little mixing is actually involved with mixing is really good. I like sitting around with people and talking about, you know, our experiences of our dough and, well, what kind of a flour are you using? What about you? Oh, look at mine compared to yours. And then the next day we actually get to see, you know, how those differences in the process affected the actual differences in the final result of the pizza. So it's a pretty powerful class.
Oh, absolutely. Like, especially after, you know, watching all your classes, I realize how much I don't know and that I should be, you know, starting from the beginning. So the more I learn, you know, the more I don't know. So it's like,
yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah. I can't wait till I can go start taking classes again too. I was going to go to Italy in the spring and take some classes. So I'm on hold. None of the guys I want to learn with are on Zoom. I'm trying to get them on Zoom.
But
anybody know any Italian interpreters?
What's that?
Anybody know any Italian interpreters? That's what I need.
I do not.
Well, Suvir, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for your support. Guys, we're going to be doing this every week, so I'm going to, at least for now, I'm going to keep them open. In the future, they'll just be for people who have completed our live Zoom and on-demand classes, but for now, we're kind of opening them up to the public because people have a lot of questions, and I want people to kind of like get into the community and hear how much fun we have and hear the open exchange of ideas. So thank you all for your support, and thanks for spending time with us. We really appreciate it. Justin?
You guys know the deal when it comes down to it. We're a bunch of dough geeks and pizza dorks, man. Let's, you know, keep the dream alive. You know, keep making, keep baking, keep burning, keep learning. You know what we say, stay safe, stay strong, belong with one another, the opposite of being short. Because, hey, we all belong here together. And please, 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 people, pizza always. And always pizza. Thank you, everybody. With love. Peace.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you all. Thank you. Suvir from Bali. Oh my God.
I love it.
Hughes. Chris, thank you for the link. Aaron, I can't even pronounce your first name. How am I ever going to pronounce your last name?
It's Aaron.
How many A's are in there? There's like 3 A's.
Aaron.
Me?
Me?
Vecchio.
Vecchio. Come on, Justin, say it with him.
Italian might, it almost becomes like a Vecchio. Like,
Vecchio. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That was
always,
fun. Thanks
brother.
for all the awesome questions.